to create a motion, we're going to read in, and also make recommendations for who sat on the study committee. And on that study committee, an email that I CC to all of you,
Right,
that Jack forwarded to me, does include a member of our board. And the employee who is, when the historical commission came to the planning board, when they asked for their support, when they asked for this board's support, the planning board gave the support. And also, Brian was talking about being the lead employee in town hall to manage that. So that is what was discussed also with this thing, again, to confirm.
So if they want specific names,
No,
are we?
they just want, I believe in that email, and I don't have it, pull it up.
Sources, in other words.
It is a member of the library
Right,
board.
descriptive, not specific,
Yes.
real people. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm a little confused. The historic commission presented a motion to the select board? And
No, it's writing the motion.
They are writing a motion.
What they're using is actually, they're just grabbing the language out of the 40C
Yes.
chat state law.
There's enabling law in the
Hold on a
state.
second. So the historic commission is, I'm taking notes here because I'm a little confused, is writing a motion which will bring into existence
A study.
a historic district study committee.
Yeah, local historic district is
LHD.
really important. It's
LHD,
legal.
Local Historic District Study Committee, and that will be presented to the select board for a
It
vote.
was emailed to the select board, we're giving it today.
Okay.
And it's gonna be, it's on their agenda for the 12th, it's the first item on their agenda. The historical commission was told they do not need to attend. They have all the information they need, they just need the proper language to do the vote according to state law.
Okay.
It's very impressive.
Great,
Very good. Excellent.
Thank you.
awesome. And thank you for the update as well as all the huge efforts, not just in the immediate past, but for years, really. And Maureen, thank you so much for all of your effort.
Yeah, no,
Maybe even we should say decades.
2000, right?
Actually, I remember the first proposal way before that, actually, in the, I think, late 80s, early 90s for the CBD, yeah.
But you've been on the planning board since 2000.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice too that it's just kind of like keeps gathering momentum, and it's really nice that the progress made in the past, that it's sort of related, didn't just sort of stagnate and kind of plateau. So, great job.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, so now we have a list of petitions, and I noticed the applicants here. So we'll go ahead and change the order of our agenda, and we'll start with 17A Gen Road. So we're going to start with the discussion, and then we'd have the.
No, he would go
Okay.
first, and then we go.
Wouldn't we start with our own discussion?
Well, I think that since it's new, the concept that works best is to just time it, because we do have a very heavy agenda, and with Dennis coming, we really want to make sure we have everything.
I mean, do we need the applicant to speak?
I don't think we do. This board is
Sort of
quite literate and
straightforward,
reads plans, so I think.
Yeah. If we have questions,
There's
we'll
no
ask.
legal requirement, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. So we may have questions, so, so maybe sit tight for a few minutes, and then we definitely want to hear from those who have taken their time to come, who are neighbors. So in any event, I don't know if you get started here, Brian.
So this is a 357, which means section 357 in the Winchester zoning bylaw, which means this is trying to be permitted to demolish and rebuild outside of the original footprint on a lot that does not meet necessary frontage and width. The frontage is 20 feet short. The necessary frontage here is 80, and we're looking at 60. This is the second resubmission, so 3 total petitions. And it looks like, actually, my memo to you was wrong. I said that one was denied by the ZBA, but apparently both of the petitions previously were pulled prior to ZBA. So just to fix that memo.
Okay, thank you.
So I've gone through, I believe, 2 design reviews with the DRC, and and now that there are several new house options that we are looking at. I did not object to the original house plan, although the house proposes on the larger side relatively too tall and wide for its narrow lot. In terms of the style, I didn't really make much comment on it, but no setbacks are being encroached upon with this petition. The applicant gave 4 different options, how all of them are relatively similar. if I had to choose one, I would have to choose D because it's the lowest height. But really, my opinion is that if it can get down to 35 feet, I think that is a reasonable height anywhere in town. It doesn't matter what is necessarily around you or not, but if you're respecting the setbacks, meaning if you're not encroaching on any of the setbacks, around 35 feet is an equitable height that would, just anywhere in town, I think that's a fair enough height. So that, I did mention.
And I'm sorry, just for
yeah.
the record, which one are you talking about again? Did you say D?
D, so yeah, so
D is in door.
D is indoor, sorry, and I believe that's at 38 and a quarter, or 37 and
Well, just to
5/8
clarify,
feet.
actually, it's two different heights. There's a main massing that projects, and then there's the setback massing. So the shorter height is actually just on the subsidiary mass.
Mhm.
So it's really important to emphasize.
When
The
we-
main
yeah, so I
mass
do
is
have the
not
plans
changed.
with it,
Yeah.
we can go all.
I just want to clarify that.
Sure. But yeah, my thought is essentially that you should be able to build a house on here if you're respecting all of the setbacks up to somewhere around, 35 feet is a reasonable height. Like I said, anywhere in town, it's hard it's hard to tell someone they cannot build a house to 35 feet, considering it is allowed to go by 40, but because of this lot, because it's different, it's definitely much more narrow, it's a more narrow lot, so you have to respect that.
Well, and just for the record,
It's
just for
20
the
feet.
record,
Yeah.
different isn't the right word.
Sorry,
Well, different, you said the lot's different, that's not really the right word technically.
It's
it's
substandard.
narrow. It's
It's
too
not
narrow.
different or narrow, it's substandard, it's not
Substandard is
conforming.
actually
Yeah.
legally
I
appropriate.
just wanted us to kind of apples to apples and oranges to oranges.
So,
Because every lot could be viewed as different from each other, but in this case, legally speaking, it's
Substandard.
conforming, yeah.
well, that's why it's in front of us, but the reason that we are here, or the reason that to talk about anything related to height is because of the width of the lot, meaning it could be substandard, but it could be substandard for another complete reason.
True, right. And then we have recommendations on that have
Yeah.
been shared.
So, well, there are two things. One, there's a historical commission memo that was submitted to us that gave unfavorable action, voted 4-1, due to an adverse impact on the surrounding height, scale, and style of the existing neighborhood. So that was the historical commission's vote.
Under 9.4.2.4. I love it.
Citing the right.
I love it. That's our work for
You've received in your packets 2 emails. I've received other emails, but I've talked to the senders of those emails, and they're here this evening, and they will be sharing those emails when they have the time.
Can I just ask why we didn't get these earlier? Sorry, but I know it's hard, but still, we're reading them at the table, and like, I see the time on
It always
these.
makes things a little.
Yeah, 10:45 a.m., so a little constraint there, I guess.
Yeah.
Can you share them with us when they come in?
I'll make sure that I forward it to you, but it's possible I
Well, I'm
didn't.
sure, because I've,
Okay, that's a mistake.
yeah.
'Cause,
So-
yeah.
So it's, I actually see 3, Sean Cashel, do I see 3? Bob Stevens and Paul Lazar, so I see 3.
So there were 2 more in addition, yeah.
Oh.
2 more than that came in after 4 or 5 o'clock this
Oh, we
evening.
haven't
Okay.
seen them?
They're here,
Oh, okay.
that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think even word of mouth that others of us have heard some concerns in the neighborhood as well.
So design review committee, you just, they also voted? We got that, but we don't have it in our packet, we got that electronically. And for the
Yes,
public and for the record.
Yeah.
That one.
yeah, I can get that.
Lisa.
So,
Take your time.
For paper copies, I guess.
Yeah, this is kind of the old days, but when they come by email, we should get them.
Okay. They have not, no, their meeting from January 10th, they didn't review these yet. They didn't review They have not reviewed this yet.
Oh, maybe they're meeting tomorrow night if it doesn't.
They have not reviewed this
snow.
yet.
So much to close town
Do you
hall.
have not heard from the
Okay,
DRC?
thank you, Brian.
Sorry. So the DRC will send their comments to the zoning board of appeals.
Directly.
So,
Okay.
and you can get those from me if you, because I will get them at some point. So feel free to email me if you would like those. I'm talking to the audience, not the board. You're gonna get them anyway.
That's true.
You don't have a choice.
We understand. That's right. I can get two folks here.
So I have all the plans. I think we're really short on time here. So basically, I say we go straight to the audience, and then, we try to go as quickly as possible.
Okay, great. Do you guys have any questions for the applicant?
No, at the moment.
Okay, could we hear from the?
Hi, my name is John
You can come
Malia,
up to the table.
and I live at,
Do you want to come up to the
Sure.
table? Okay, thank you.
Because that way the people who are out there in TV land can also hear what you're saying.
I'll be famous.
Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it when people come because it provides more information
Thank
for
you.
us.
My name is John Malia, I live at 5 Ginn Road, and I'm here to object to these plans. I've had some previous communications with Brian, and I apologize because we were aware that we could object at the zoning board meeting, the final one, but we weren't aware that we could give input before that. That's why we're here this time.
Thank you.
We've lived in our house. My wife actually grew up in the house, and we've actually lived here since 89, 1990. So, we're very familiar with the neighborhood. At this point, we may be the oldest resident, not by age, by length of time. I'll just read the email that I had prepared. My greatest concern is the size, both the footprint and the height. I don't feel his design is a good fit for his irregularly shaped lot or for the neighborhood in general. The changes he proposes to his last plans, in my opinion, are minuscule. The height will be greater than any but the old carriage house. It will tower over its abutters. I actually brought pictures from my backyard where you can see how the house looks now. It's printed out.
Oh, okay.
It's these two here. These are the comparables.
Oh, I see. Okay, great. We'll
You're
just pass them
in
in.
the behind.
I abut from the rear. I'm 5, so we share the entire back.
So you're
Line.
right on this,
The other
We're
side
on the
of
other
this.
right on the other side, yeah.
This will tell you,
Yeah.
the backyard.
Back, yeah, you
Yeah,
actually.
so that's the back. I mean, look.
Yep.
Here, this is the house. Oh, that's 17. Sorry, this is 17A. Is right here. So you're talking about your.
No, it's like along this way. Yeah.
Mr. Huang's on the Rock Road, right, now I'm on the first leg coming in.
So there's Bacon, and so it's,
Oh, my God, we're really huge.
Our properties
It's like the
completely
second
abut each other.
Wow.
It's right here.
Along
This is
the-
different. This is, I understood that. This-
Along the
this is-
entire rear property line.
His property is here, looking at, and that's very beautiful.
you guys are the second house in from Bacon, right?
Yes, not counting the corner one, which is on,
Not counting the corner, okay,
Yeah,
the
it's
L-shaped
this
one?
It's this one right here.
right, we're in
Right,
L
there
shape,
you go,
right?
area, Google,
Here already.
what do you call it, the aerial,
Yeah,
what do you call it?
Yeah, the other side of the street, we're opposite that. That's us right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, so here they are. You can see that we're looking this way, and here's 17A. So it's
My house is 27 feet in height, from the highest peak up
Yeah, I
there.
think we should keep that in mind, by the way. 27, and I'm hearing 35, and I'm thinking, I don't know from there.
So the height will be greater than any but the old carriage house. It will tower over its abutters. By building out to all the setbacks, he squeezes the house into the back right corner of the lot. The design will give the area a more crowded city look where houses sit on top of one another. As a direct abutter, I have personal concerns about how the house will affect my family's privacy and property value. We have many great backyards on Ginn Road. My backyard is used often for grilling, playing, swimming, and entertaining. If Mr. Huang moves his house closer and makes it significantly taller, it will be visually imposing. It would not only affect my privacy, but my property value if I were ever to decide to sell. I'm not as much concerned with the architecture, but with how the house fits into the neighborhood and whether its impact would be positive or negative. The size and height of the design for 17A bring far more negatives. Just because Mr. Huang chooses to give up his backyard does not mean that his abutters should suffer. Once again, Mr. Huang submits without a drainage plan to handle water runoff. I did express that concern from the very first plan. There's a 6-foot grade difference, a 6-foot slope from the base of his house to the base of mine, which actually makes the visual that much more. He starts off 6 feet higher. And so my house and many around me require sump pumps to keep the basement dry every year. This would be a concern regardless of what size house Mr. Huang would build, and I'm disappointed that he did not include a plan. Ginn Road is a family-friendly street. The last 10 houses have all sold to families with young children. Some of the characteristics that make it attractive are the small amount of traffic, the local schools, and I believe the spacing of the houses and the front and the backyard. In my view, Ginn Road is not a place for McMansions. Ginn Road was designed, if you look at it on the plan, where just about every house sits, smack center in its lot. And although a lot of these houses have been improved upon and even, dramatically increased in size, not one of them have moved out of the original footprint by probably 15%. A little bump out on the back for a kitchen. Next to me, he pulled the whole house down and rebuilt that one. He bumped, yeah, he's an L-shape. He bumped out maybe 10 feet towards me. Still, he's not 15 feet off. But what I'm saying is the character of the neighborhood, and I know character is a word tossed around all over the
That's
place.
very important to us, so we're happy that you're using it.
I think the character is what the neighborhood feel is, what the vibe is, what people get when they come onto, when they're looking at houses on the street, when they live on the street. Ginn Road doesn't get a lot of traffic, so we get a lot of walkers. You can teach your child to ride the bike, right in the middle of the street, running up and down. You can't do that on Everett. You can't do that on Central. It's special to us. And so I think we're just attractive to the families that want a front yard, a backyard. They don't want a gigantic mansion. If this was allowed, and it set a precedent where you could, go as big as you wanted, most of the houses that have been improved have been on the first leg of Ginn, where I am. And as you go further around, there are still a fair amount of ranch-style houses that, potentially could be McMansionized if someone, decided to do that. It's funny because we did, in addition to our house, it was actually a cape, and we added 4 bedrooms, but we did our addition in 1995. And I actually did come and speak with Mr. Wiley because I didn't know if it made sense to move somewhere else. And he told me at that time that Ginn Road is a pocket of cheap housing surrounded by some very expensive housing. And he said sooner or later people are going to come in and start building them up. Well, it took like 20 years and all my kids to grow up, but sooner or later, it is happening now. And so it is a worry that, someone would do that. I know when I built mine, I went and talked to my neighbor. Actually, if you look at my house now, the right-hand roof stretched all the way across with a small dormer right in the center where the 4 windows are. And I went and spoke with her about how it would affect her. And height was a concern, so we only we have a full 2-story house, but we only went to 27 feet. I didn't have a fancy attic. And then in the back, we were making it longer, and we dropped that down to only a 1-story once again because the sun comes across in that direction, and I didn't want to impose any more than I had to. We built our addition when the kids were small, all 4 kids less than 5, and so we got our money's worth. There was a reason to build it, and we certainly got our money's worth out of it. And we love Ginn Road, and we'd hate to see it change into something that it's not now.
Yeah, we really appreciate your coming and all of your helpful comments. And on neighborhood character, it's actually part of our criteria, so it's nice to get more kind of information and data from someone who lives in that area. I think we all appreciate how special that neighborhood is. There's no question about that. I mean, there's a lot of wonderful neighborhoods in town, and the Ginn Road area is certainly just another example. And we're very sensitive to all those points that you mentioned. I'd also note that, as I'm sure many of my fellow board members are aware, as you say, many of the recent additions and kind of reconfigurations of houses have still been like, 1.5 story, 2 stories. Like they haven't gone as high as.
Correct, there are no houses on the street
Even though
that go
it
to
may
that.
seem like almost like a new house, like the one across the street from you or down the street from you, when they're so tastefully done and kind of they sort of perpetuate that neighborhood feel, even though they may have, they might be newer, but in many instances, the architectural design that's been chosen is older. But in any event, it doesn't change the whole atmosphere of the street or of the neighborhood. So we totally get that, and we're very
Okay.
sensitive to that as well.
As a side note, I did bring some pictures of some of the local houses, and you're talking about number 4,
Please.
that Mr. Huang uses as a comparable, but he neglects to put some information in, and he really doesn't talk about height anywhere. And even though
An
that,
example that's not that high.
it's not, and you know how, I know it's that high because I went up on a ladder and I measured it myself from the highest peak to the ground, so I can vouch for that.
Yeah, no, I
It's
mean,
right on top of the street, isn't it?
No, it's not back.
It's the original footprint. They bumped out a minor bit in the back,
Yeah, that's
a
nice.
minor bit in the
It's
back for
and
a
it's a
kitchen.
beautiful design, and,
Yeah.
so I would say this isn't a comparison.
Right.
Well, and the lot size also, the lot size for him is, I
And
think,
frontage,
It's
exactly.
completely different on, actually, that frontage is, I remember, I actually went through the documents and was comparing, yeah, that's
I mean,
very wide.
the issue with the lot in question is like, there's kind of, there's several issues, but one is the lack of the appropriate, the required frontage, but also the fact that it's lower, goes deep, farther in the topography, I guess you'd call it, but it's not on a flat level, so you enter the site and you're going down, so.
well, you go down when you hit, right, towards my property, you go
Correct,
down.
yeah, so it seems like some of the designs are sort of irrespective of those two enormous variables.
Mhm. I
But
agree
did
with
you have
that.
anything else to add?
No, I think I pretty much said my
Did your
piece,
wife
and I
want to say
appreciate,
anything, or?
I appreciate very much you listening.
No, just other than I grew up in that house, moved away in my 20s for like 10 years before we came back and purchased it. And we have wonderful barbecues and outside time. And just the thought of having this big, huge, we can't think of any other visual other than this is sitting right on our property.
Like basically 3 stories?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody else want to contribute other than the applicant?
I provided some pictures from my
Oh, okay,
point of view.
Great, thank you for bringing that.
Yes. So my name is Sabina Biss, and I live at 15 Ginn Road, which is located immediately north of the Huang residence. So it's the greenhouse, the newer 3. It was built 3 years ago. I don't know if you wanted to show location. So I recently moved into the area at the end of June and have had a very friendly relationship with all my neighbors. Shortly after moving, Mr. Huang told me that he would be building a new property, and I obligatorily congratulated him. He advised me that he would show me the plans of the property soon, but he never did. Only after I showed up to the Board of Appeals hearing, which he withdrew from last October, did he approach me to set up a meeting to show me the plans. Ever since Mr. Huang has been less than forthcoming with his plans and intentions of the property. To say that he needs a 6,300 square foot house for a family of 3, whose only son will be graduating high school in a few years, leaves his intentions for this house in question. He is building the tallest and largest possible house within all allowed setbacks to maximize his return. He does not meet the frontage requirement, nor does he meet the width requirement for his property, building his mansion to the detriment of all other abutting neighbors. This, of course, will affect me in numerous ways, and needless to say, will negatively affect my property value as well.
We're listening intently, but we just want
The
to,
Yeah.
street view's not updated.
Oh, that's my old,
But
so
that's okay, we have, we have the pictures that were.
you can
provided.
see from,
They were provided.
oh, in the packet, maybe.
Yeah.
yes, in the packet, and also on picture number 3, the back of my house, there it is. As you see, the back of my house faces Mr. Huang's property. So, and needless to say, this will negatively affect the value of my own property. So number 1, the property will be approximately 6,300 square feet on a 10,000 square foot lot, including the basement and attic, which is by far the largest house on the block. Mr. Huang has played around with the different square footage numbers on other homes in the neighborhood to make it seem as though his house is within the norm. but once again, it is like comparing apples to oranges. Although he now adds the square footage of the first and second floors of his house and that of others, he surprisingly forgot to add his full-size walk-up attic with 7-foot ceilings, which would make his total square footage above ground at 4,483 square feet, much larger than any in the area, as his own graph states. His walk-up attic will serve as a third floor, as ceiling heights will allow for livable space. He states on Form 2F that the proposed project merely enlarges the house and does not affect the screening or buffering of neighboring properties. To say that he is more than doubling his square footage and footprint will not affect other properties is disingenuous. This is not in keeping with the feel of the neighborhood, which is made up of many 2,000 square foot ranches and some larger new constructions that are all 2 stories with smaller square footages on much larger properties than his. For example, I live in a 4,152 square house above ground, excluding basement. This is on a nearly 16,000 square foot property. On the other hand, the Huangs plan to build an almost 4,500 square foot house, which is more than 300 square feet more than mine, above ground, not including basement, on a property that is 60% smaller than my own. He states that the width of his house is only 52 feet compared to mine, which is 79. That is because the orientation of our houses are reversed, as you can see from this graph. My house is very narrow in a ranch-style footprint, whereas his house is a square. Thus, my depth is only 38 feet versus his, which is 52.5. Again, playing with the numbers to make it sound smaller than other properties, but not giving the full picture that it is the biggest house on the block. This is not at all in keeping with the feel of the street and will impede on the privacy of my house and backyard, which we use nearly every day with my 2 small children. I will now be staring at a structure that is nearly 40 feet tall and twice as deep as it is today. Number 2, the height of the house is much taller than any in the neighborhood. He's planning on building 10-foot ceilings on the first floor, 9-foot ceilings on the second floor, and a 7-foot walk-up attic. No one in the neighborhood has anything even comparable to this in terms of height, and no one has a walk-up attic. The types of concessions he has made are minuscule, such as decreasing his garage by 1.5 feet. When you look at the main issues of the property, including height and mere size, most houses of the area are between 20 and 30 feet high, with a small minority, including my own, between 30 and 32 feet. And as you can see, my house is extremely tall to begin with. The fact that his property is now going to be 7 feet taller than anything else in the area, plus the fact that he's at the highest elevation, which is 2 feet higher than mine, further adds insult to injury by being so imposing onto my property and others such that I will have no privacy. The way that my building faces the Huangs means that he would be able to see into almost my entire house, including the kitchen, the dining rooms, and the majority of my bedrooms. Number 3, the privacy of my backyard and the entire house will be compromised. The structure that the Huangs are proposing will in effect be 3 floors and hover over our house. Their square footage is more than doubling, so whereas once I had a view of the sky, which you can see from my kitchen window, this is I think the 5th picture here, you can see what my view from the most important room of the house is. If you imagine that that is going to be now 17 feet inwards and then 40 feet high, I'm going to be staring at a wall. This, of course, cannot be induced from looking at beautiful and colorful 2D renderings provided by Mr. Huang. This will be replaced by a few, so he's taking out all the majority of the mature trees, which is my pictures here. As you can see, this tree here is being taken out, and this tree here is being taken out, so my block, there's nothing to screen me. Even if you were to put, new trees and shrubs in the area, how long will it take for 30 feet to grow? Decades.
That's a beautiful tree.
I know. Lastly, Mr. Huang has no drainage plans. I won't bore you with that. That's already been discussed. I have a full, my basement is finished. And so this will be extremely important since, I have a 2 feet difference slope. So in conclusion, I'm firmly against the proposed house to be built in our neighborhood as it is not in keeping with the others in the area. It will be the largest, most imposing house on the block, all on a property that's significantly smaller in the street. My husband and I bought our dream home 8 months ago, given the family-friendly neighborhood, large backyard space, and privacy, all to be shattered recently with these plans. My husband and I respectfully ask that you vote against these plans, as it will set a terrible precedent that anything can be built anywhere without taking into consideration the character of the neighborhood and the negative effects on the abutting neighbors.
I just have a quick question to you and also maybe to
Sure.
Molly, is that your comments are very helpful to us, and we really appreciate you taking the time to come. Obviously, it's a really important matter, but I'm just kind of curious if you've seen his options.
They're all the same. They differ by a foot.
Yeah.
It's like as if he's making concessions, but he's not seeing the main picture. And I've already talked to him about this. There's no need for 10-foot ceilings. There's no need for an attic for a
But
family.
your point
of
is
three.
even with Plan D, as in dog, that it's still.
No one has an
his
attic.
height is still the highest, it's still high, yeah.
My house is probably the tallest on the block, and it's 32 and a half.
Can I say, I said those things when this board reviewed it last.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope you remember.
I do.
Sorry, because I got it.
Well, and
People do need to understand, we are all volunteers here, and some of us are looking at this, and we argue with each other, and it's really uncomfortable sometimes for some of us to be arguing, but some of us
Right.
really do appreciate what you're saying.
But one of the things also that comes up often is that what is the real impact on the neighborhood?
Well, some of
And
us saw it.
Right.
And I was arguing vehemently about it.
Right,
so.
but, and many times, we haven't really gotten any other input from the neighborhood. So it's
I think
Yeah.
the input from the neighbors is the most critical, we have never had it.
Well, we just never knew that it was possible.
Rarely
No.
hears from the neighbors, so it's.
Well, I've lost multiple days of
A lot
sleep over
times,
this.
We could pick this up, I mean, it was obviously one of the tall, gonna be the
Yeah,
highest
I
house
will.
in the neighborhood, yeah.
That's
But
fine.
in any event, could we hear from, we really appreciate your comments.
Thank you so
Thank you so much.
It's not
Could we hear
easy.
from Brian on drainage? Could you,
Yeah, sure, I mean,
do you mind coming to the table?
Right, so we did not receive any drainage calculations for any of the options. And our recommendation
Yes,
was,
I'll use this for them. They'll be watching it afterward. Run here.
we did not receive any drainage calculations for any of these options. And our recommendation was to provide drainage calculations. So we couldn't recommend, that was our recommendation.
So I said in this memo, but I didn't say it before, but they'd said that they would have to dig up their whole lawn in order to do that. So that's, I mean, it's just putting,
so-
what does it entail?
So typically, if the applicant doesn't want to do any test pits before they get the okay to go, they can hire an engineer, and the engineer will make an assumption of the underlying soil conditions, and then those assumptions can then be verified later on, and, the zoning board can sort of add in the condition that, assuming that the soil conditions are appropriate, go for it.
And that takes into account the slope of the
Yeah.
site, correct? Because that site is elevated over everyone around it, and then they're covering more of it, but it's raised, so when the
Well,
water
yeah,
sheds, it's all going down
Yeah.
to.
I mean, drainage design would have to account for that, yes.
You
Yeah, and
actually,
for the retention of keeping the water on the property.
Right, we wouldn't recommend anything that shows them now moving water onto a neighbor's property. That's absolutely unacceptable, so.
The biggest problem, even though we all know how the water retention systems work, but they actually fail when you get heavy snow and ice, and the water tends to be on the surface, and you just can't
Well, if it's
drain.
designed properly, it shouldn't fail, but,
No, but I mean, in the
Designed
sense
and
that
installed.
it can't.
Right.
don't forget the install.
right.
And it's
A
installed
limit to
properly.
what you can do with drainage and swales and all that stuff, once you've got frozen ground and snow and it's piled up and everything. The high ground gets it, and the lower lots get wet.
Right, well, having spent about 6 years being the town's flood queen,
Are you?
well, years ago, back when I was on the Board of Selectmen for years and years, and.
Oh, I thought you meant
So
your
I'm,
property.
so I'm acutely conscious of those issues.
Meantime, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so is it fair to say that the reason why you'd like to see drainage information from the applicant, because it's important, particularly a site that's already kind of small, non-conforming, and also because of the slope?
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
That's
And-
fair.
And so therefore, since you don't have them, that would be concerning. It's relevant information.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well,
we
thank you
have-
so much. So we appreciate it. Yep.
Yep, no
So
problem.
does the board have any questions either for the applicant or any of the neighbor? Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
We have, I know it's not a
We
question,
know.
but
We-
8:30, we've got Dennis.
We know.
coming.
That's why I'm asking, does anybody have any questions
Okay.
or
I would like
further
to add
discussion?
something. So I sat in, last time we reviewed this, the Historical Commission had not talked about, and I was there when they went through this
perfect.
property. And there was a lot of discussion, but what I was unaware is their next door neighbor,
Yeah.
The
to
stone
immediate-
house?
Yeah, I know that house.
You're saying here?
Yeah,
to them, is they're considering that historical resource, and they're
Yeah.
also considering the ranches in this neighborhood historical resources.
Yeah.
And that is why they came to the determination, they didn't write it in full length, and they
Mhm.
just kind of laid it simplified out.
I was saying, Jerome Bailey Foster is one of the architects in this neighborhood, and Royal Berry Wills. These are nice houses.
No, I know you're
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
that, Maureen, what I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, you're
The planning
agreeing.
board is,
Yeah.
that is what the historical commission
Right,
said
right.
also.
Yeah,
That's
And
helpful.
given that, since their original application, these have actually been changed, the zoning laws have been changed. So can we proceed with the motion, do you guys
Yeah,
want to discuss
let's go
this?
for it.
Yeah.
I would like to discuss it.
Okay, go ahead.
One of the things I think that's important about this particular application, it's one of the few times, because it's coming to us as site plan review, that we can actually truly consider
It's
It's
special
not-
permit.
It's special permit.
Yeah.
special permit, sorry. Wait a second.
Yep,
It's a 357.
keep going.
357.
Yep.
Anyway, it's one of the few times we can actually really take into account the voices of the neighbors, because otherwise this would be by right construction.
No, it wouldn't.
It wouldn't be?
No,
It meets all
because
of the-
it doesn't have the frontage.
Except for the frontage.
And the width.
If this were on a lot which was the correct size and shape, this would be done by right. So that's what I'm saying. This is a unique time when we can actually take a look at the overall scale. Other buildings go in, they build out to the edges of what's permitted in the setbacks. They're as high as they want to be, and the neighbors don't really have a voice in what's happening. And there are neighbors.
Well, we
neighborhoods.
actually do get to take into consideration neighborhood character
Certain
for any
size
of them,
and-
but in any event, keep
If-
going.
If it's a by right construction, it's very difficult for that to be, because it doesn't,
Well, with
it's,
the larger
know
houses
about
now,
that.
they often do require site plan
Yeah.
reviews. I won't say they always do, but they tend to, and also demolition
More
and
so than-
rebuild.
more so
So
than
there's
in the
several ways we're now.
But anyway, keep going.
So I don't think you're right. I think you're overstating it, but anyway.
But
I
keep
don't
going.
think I'm
I get what you're
overstating
going with
it.
it, I think
I don't think I'm overstating it. I think that a lot of construction gets done in this town by right without review by the neighbors.
That's true.
So that's very important that we're able to actually take that into consideration. I know that we've spoken with the applicant several times about the size of the buildings. I think we were pretty uniformly, and I won't speak for others, but my appreciation was that we all felt that the house, the plans before us were too large, that they did dwarf the neighboring structures. We were concerned that the other structures were smaller, much smaller houses. And in my opinion, while I'm grateful that the applicant has tried to make it smaller, I think it is still really out of proportion with the neighborhood,
All of the options.
Right.
all of the options.
Right, agreed.
So does
Yeah.
somebody want to make a
Make a
motion?
motion, let's go.
I would like to make a motion that we recommend unfavorable action because of section 9.4.2, number 4, impacts on neighborhood character. Specifically, A, the building forms are not compatible with the scale in the neighborhood. And also 9.4.2, number 8, the impacts on the historic resource of the inside that neighborhood.
You second the motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you to the applicant for all the effort
And they
to
should
give
be
us this
reminded,
information.
it's still going before the
Yeah.
ZBA, but try to get your letters out now.
Okay,
Please.
Yep, go
I
ahead.
got, yeah,
Okay.
I can send it to him.
Okay,
Yeah, unfavorable,
my little cheat sheet.
Unfavorable action due to 9.4.2.4 impacts on the neighborhood character and scale, and 9.4.2.8, which is impact on the historic resources
In the neighborhood, all the historic resources in the
in
neighborhood.
the neighborhood. Yep. Impact on historic resources in the neighborhood.
The law has changed.
Yeah.
Since their previous applications, the law has changed in the town.
Which
The
one?
bylaw.
Oh,
The
oh, in
town
terms of
zoning
the
laws
section
have
number,
changed.
the section numbers. Yeah.
The town meeting has changed the zoning laws in the town
Okay,
since the previous act.
let's move on to,
Okay, so the
back to the
next,
first petition.
Okay.
so this is
I just,
319 Main
It does
Street.
raise the question, we're getting recommendations from Brian, and Brian, you're doing a good job in presenting the numbers and so on, but I think we have to get back to this as a general topic, because we're not in alignment a lot now, and I don't think it's that you don't get it and we get where you are, but I don't think we're converging the way we ought to, so, and we won't always converge.
Yeah, no, but I will-
I
yeah.
think we're not together enough.
I would say that's true.
So I think we have to figure that one out, but not now.
But I don't think that's necessarily an issue.
Well, it might be the way Brian's memo is framed. That's one way to just get out of it's more the criteria types of stuff or something. I don't know. But I do think it is because his recommendation is in its own way, his memo, it's a legal document, and it, I think, can work against everybody else if we're all in agreement that, for example, because of these criteria, it's too big. So I really think it's best if we can
Yeah,
try
well,
to.
maybe one thing, can we just talk about this for a minute, that would be constructive is not even necessarily giving, in some instances, I'm gonna jump the shark here, your conclusion, but issue spotting.
Yeah, it
Because
could be
issue spotting
definitely.
is really helpful and
It's very
kind of
good.
lining up, and
Definitely.
particularly where, maybe in some instances, I would suggest that that would be completely acceptable to the
Yeah.
board.
Yeah,
Fine,
And,
that's easy
and
enough.
so then that way,
Right.
because the data that you're presenting is so
Yes,
helpful to
oh.
us, and then issue spotting, and, because
Soft,
the
I would call
conclusion
them,
is,
right.
you know, and if you want to
Evaluations,
make a
objective
conclusion,
stuff.
great, and if you don't, though, or not really sure how we might kind of view a packet, just issue spotting is super helpful.
Okay.
That's actually more
I
helpful
think that's
than the.
better.
Yeah, but on the other hand, if you want to make a recommendation, feel free to do so also. So you have that option to issue spot and not make a recommendation.
Well, I would describe it as a third option, which is that for all these reasons, I have no objections, and then just, it could be a boilerplate phrase. However, there are subjective issues that I will defer to the board on, or something like that. That would just be pasted in, and maybe we want to work on that, so that it,
Yeah.
again, this is, your recommendation has its own weight, carries its own weight, and I don't want to have it undercut what we do. So that's
Or for you to feel pressured to make a recommendation,
Right,
even if it may sort of line up in some interpretation legally. But,
Yeah, I'm comfortable with all of this.
okay, good, good.
I don't really, I don't think that extra language needs to be added to Brian's report because it's independent of ours.
Okay, well, then we should get back to this, because again, it's,
I
I don't,
think Brian's independent voice is important.
Yeah,
well, then,
But the
there are all
larger
those
issue.
subjective
yeah.
things that.
But the larger issue is what's helpful to the analysis.
Right,
And given his expertise, and it seems like what's being sort of highlighted in this conversation is that what's super helpful in the analysis is issue spotting.
Right.
Not necessarily
Well,
feeling
I'm not
pressure.
saying that issue spotting
right.
should be part of it, but any.
But not feeling pressure to come to a conclusion, particularly all the time, if, you know, just giving that option.
I have to say, some of us, because we live here and have lived here many years, have a sense of what is, like I know Ginn Road so well, what is the neighborhood, and that's not his expertise, or what is the feel of the neighbors, which I think I understood, frankly.
But if that's not
well.
his expertise, I don't see why he needs to raise the issue.
So that it doesn't end up with a conclusion when he's really not got he's not in the position to draw the final conclusion.
I like the sort of
Well, I
like
just-
sua sponte,
Yeah.
you know, as we come upon ideas, to go ahead and talk about them for a couple minutes, because I think it's good and it's in the moment.
Yeah.
So, and it's therefore more relevant. But I think the consensus is that,
Yeah,
and
I
I
agree.
think Brian is comfortable with it, that when he feels like giving a recommendation, fine, but you know, have no pressure from this board to do so.
Right.
And if you recognize that there may be issues, just simply issue spot
Right.
for discussion, and that's super
fine,
helpful.
too.
That's flexible enough
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
exactly,
Fine.
Good,
exactly.
I'm there, thank you.
Exactly. Okay, great. So let's move on. Hey, Dennis.
So wait, well, we got 8 minutes, I don't know, well, we can see what we can do.
Okay, we'll try to get one, which,
Can't figure out what's
Well-
going on with this one.
We're going
What is that? I'm
back
sorry.
to 319.
Okay, Jackie,
so-
call him out.
well, we're on 319 Main Street.
319 Main Street, because the plan is unclear.
I thought so too, but I did finally figure it out. It's the side, it's the It's just the side entrance, and I will say, my only question was the materials, and interestingly, hooray, our historical commission memo was perfect, and as they said, or maybe somebody's got it, I've been shuffling so much paper here, but the historical commission did review it, and I thought their comments were good, but now I can't find them. Brian, do you happen to have the historical commission memo for this? Yeah, it would be.
So it's, everyone
I
has it.
have it, I know,
It's not a-
it's buried in here with 17
Here's one,
Aiken
it's
Road.
for 319 Main,
This
they,
thing right here, and they just extend it.
so for 319 Main from the Historical Commission, they said
thank you.
enclosing a
Yeah.
pre-existing porch, favorable actions with conditions, the
It's the
conditions
condition.
being true divided
True
light.
divided lights,
Side
side
light,
lights,
and
and
elliptical
elliptical transom. I thought that was terrific, and I just would love to jump in, unless Heather, you've got, but it's a side door, it's not this, it looked at first, I thought, oh my God, is this the front door? It's not, and it looks like it's pretty reasonable.
It's a
with-
side door, the one, is this right here. This is the detail here.
Yeah.
Overhanging,
Right.
pilasters over there.
Oh, well, add something, make a motion. I would take everything from historical, but add something if you would.
If you want to add something, you could just say what
Oh,
the
and
historical.
by the way,
I don't
Commission-
know, actually, I don't know if, we actually can include this in it, but the detail of the columns overhanging the existing platform is a terrible design.
I agree with you.
So I don't know if that fits anywhere
They
into.
can adjust that, so we should point that out.
We can just recommend that they
Yeah,
adjust the
we can
existing
recommend.
platform so that
Yeah.
the pilasters, I think they're pilasters, they're not rounded, are not overhanging the existing platform.
Beautiful.
Otherwise, I'm fine with it.
So.
Does somebody want to make a motion?
Yeah, and I want to make sure this goes, actually, all that language, because I gather there's some question. I was so glad we saw the actual letter that went to the ZBA from our last round, so I want to make sure everything, that all these, whatever, that when we amplify, it goes into the recommendation, so everybody's there. So Heather made the motion,
But
but
no.
let's repeat. We
Yeah, I'm
are
gonna need that again.
endorsing the historical commission's,
Well, did we actually
Recommendations, I think.
get a motion?
Heather was started it, and I
Yes.
thought it was
But I didn't
good.
get it, so.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go slowly. Dictate, not,
So it was
This
recommend.
is a special permit. I recommend favorable action with the following conditions, which includes
pick up the historical.
And say that it, You can
true
rec-
divided, that the door have true divided lights, side lights, and divided lights and elliptical transom.
right, I'll say, yeah, what the historical commission
Yeah,
has
just
recommended,
pick it
and then
up.
in addition to the
To
historic.
be, hold on, to be compatible, it'd be number 4A, so the materials are compatible with the character, the buildings in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
And 4B, that the architectural features add visual character. So it would fit in there.
But what was the recommendation?
And 4C, that the patterns of the windows are consistent.
Right.
Patterns and proportions of the window
I-
is
I-
consistent with the neighborhood.
That's referencing the sections, I thought you had an additional recommendation about the,
I'm gonna say that too.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's that one, the
Okay.
windows. The second condition is that the pilasters.
Pilaster, thank you.
Yeah.
She's good, but
Fully
they don't know.
supported by the existing platform, and that is actually,
And not
4B.
overhang, yeah. Okay,
and
go,
not overhang
the platform.
the existing platform.
okay, let me get that, I think I got it. Pilasters are fully supported, you recommend that the pilasters be fully supported by the existing platform and not overhang the existing platform.
That the existing platform be extended to accept the pilasters. That they allow that the platform be extended.
Yeah,
That's better, because what they're trying to do is not change their dimensions, and I'd rather see them change their dimensions and have those pilasters fully supported
Yeah, yeah.
by the platform, and I'd rather see that minor change in the dimensions.
So could you just say pilasters should be fully supported by the existing platform? and
Note
just-
that the existing platform should extend fully underneath. That
No, in
existing
order
platform-
to support the proposed
Yeah,
pilasters.
should be extended to support the proposed pilasters.
Can't they just shrink the enclosure? It seems like they have,
They could, yeah.
I mean, they could just move it back by 3 inches.
Yeah, or that the pilasters be shifted in to be
Yeah.
fully supported.
Yeah.
You could do that, I can't tell by the plan.
Yeah, I mean, this all is
Okay,
new.
I'm gonna
Okay, is
second
there
the
a second?
motion.
Okay,
Okay,
did
wait,
you get,
I'm not done yet, that's section 9.4.2, number 4, and it's B.
okay. I have a
Yeah,
quick,
that's visual character, yeah.
Yep. Visual character.
quick question. Okay, never mind.
Now, second the motion?
That's it.
second?
Oh, I was wondering,
Did you get it?
Kind of, we'll
Do you want to,
talk
why
later.
don't you repeat it? Why
Well,
don't you
it's-
just read it real quick?
I'm sorry.
It was a mess. The existing platforms should be extended to fully support the
New pilasters.
the new pilasters, okay.
Or the new pilasters should be shifted in to be fully supported by the existing platform.
Or we can, yeah.
Either one, I don't, yeah.
Or we
No
can simply
preference
Did you get
for
that?
the ZBA
Kind
would
of.
choose.
Pilasters
Yeah.
should be fully supported by the platform, period.
Okay, and there's a second?
There you go.
Second,
So
yeah,
all
you
those
got it.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, motion carries. I just wonder, we're actually a couple minutes shy of 8:30. I know Brian's typing, but could we do 36 Everett
Yes,
real
yes,
quick?
that's fine. I didn't,
Okay, does anybody have any
problem?
discussion about 36 Everett?
No, I thought,
Okay, does anybody have
a
a motion?
motion to approve, recommend favorable action, I'm sorry.
Okay, and is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, motion, aye, and any against? Okay, motion carries. Okay, so we have one more, but should we try to do that one or not?
Let's, which one is this?
That one, we did one in 30 seconds, so maybe we
Well,
can
so
do one
that
more.
happened to be like, what, 100 square foot
So
addition?
18 Wendell Street.
Right.
Site plan review.
Hold on, let me get the,
Oh,
I'm getting my papers.
Oh, well.
Too many papers.
I didn't think there was
Maybe
much.
we'll do it after.
No, let's go for it.
Yeah, let's see if we can do this.
Okay,
Fine.
Wendell, so,
That was okay.
this is a site plan review for a house that's larger than 3,600 square feet. This is the finishing of an attic.
Right, this is one we're trying to deal
So,
with at town meeting.
again, it's the finishing of an attic.
Right.
This will add
is-
approximately 500 square feet. We know these projects. We don't
gotta
like them.
get-
We're
we
trying to
gotta-
fix them.
We gotta deal with it. Hang on to
Favorable
it.
action.
Make
you
a
know.
point to yourself, no to self. This is like,
Does anybody have any just points of discussion other
no,
than?
recommend
what's going on?
favorable action.
I'm sorry?
Recommend favorable action.
They're not changing the roof or anything.
Correct.
No, it's all, it's a fit.
internal.
It's
all
all
interior.
internal.
Okay, is there
No, they're
any
adding
windows?
2 windows on
Yeah,
either
they
side.
are
Two
windows.
window, 4 windows. 2 windows on either side of.
I don't think it makes any difference.
And no
on this.
dormer?
I still recommend favorable action.
Well, that, the motion's on the floor anyway.
Motion's on the
Is there a
floor.
second?
I
Second.
will second the motion.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any against? Okay, motion carries. Okay,
8:30, what do you know?
okay, Dennis, do you want to come to the table?
A motivated board.
All right.
Are we gonna deal with that?
I have no
for this
idea what I
meeting,
did.
Or are we pushing that off again?
There's
Well-
no, I mean, we can,
Well, we did.
When we talk about time, we should
We don't have
definitely
a
talk
lot
about
of
that
time,
at
but-
another time, yeah. It's
Just a
a,
yes or no question?
no, I think the idea was that we
Well,
were.
it depends, I think, and if we could put together something
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah, I
Thank
mean,
you.
it doesn't seem like it could be that, needs to be too complicated, but anyway. Hi Dennis,
Historical Commission.
how are you? Nice to see you. Good, great seeing you, thank you.
Hi, Brian.
it's the same thing.
So Dennis, thank you so much for
I am.
coming. I'm gonna go ahead and tee
Brian with a
this up.
Y.
Go for it, Jackie.
So we're grateful to have Dennis here, and we're gonna have a discussion about his retention with respect to generating proposed design, possible theoretical designs, visions for the Highland Avenue area, which is private and public land, potentially. But we were delighted that you could come, Dennis, because we had a few points that we wanted to convey to you. But you have this beautiful outline, so maybe we should let you start, unless you want us to.
Well, I'm assuming that you'll have input, and there's some, when I went out to the site initially, after talking to Brian, I saw some things, but then we went out with both Brian's, town engineer's office, and it was pretty informative, and if you haven't, I assume you've been there, but if you haven't, to walk it, it's a beautiful site.
It is.
And with some extreme contours,
Yes.
which limit what's realistic, and I know you're all interested in, if any, whatever happens there, that it be done right.
Amen.
And,
As you know, we don't have a lot of land here,
yes, in town.
so
And,
that's the other reason why we
So,
are so happy that you're involved with.
well, oh, good. I was just going to hand out, boy, Brian, you're
Yeah, it's great.
very impressive.
No, we love him.
Well, it's the same as that.
Yeah, but this
So I
one
get
is much
paid the big
closer.
bucks.
Yeah, I'll do that then.
Here, I'll pass it around.
I don't think there's enough for quite everybody, so you might have to share.
On the screen.
So,
It's strong enough still.
So Dennis, I have this up and then I have this.
excellent.
Okay. So if you need any, I have some other things as well.
Thank you. Thanks, Jackie.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have a
I think we should start here.
of this?
I have one copy.
Okay, you have your copy.
I can look at Brian's
I just
copy.
wanted, there's neighbors and here that.
Yeah, I thought I made 10 copies, which I thought would be enough.
Betsy and I can share. Is there,
And Liz needs one as well.
I gave Liz one.
No, he just, no,
No, it's
It's
right.
this
Oh, I
draft.
have that.
Yes, okay, good.
Okay.
they all broke, mine broke down.
All right, Dennis, go ahead.
All right, so some of this is really obvious, but I always feel it's important to write it down, and then it might spark some interest on your part or one of the Brian's parts. But obviously, the site goals are a bit different. The private landowner or the person who has the rights to the land has said over time he wants to build 4 to 6 units. When Brian Seckley and I met with him, he said 4 was in the past, and now 6 is really what he's
Yeah, we had an
after.
update from Brian yesterday, so
Okay.
that was
Luckily,
concerning.
we relayed that to the Board of Selectmen
Good.
last
We had a
night.
joint
It was
meeting.
good, yeah.
And the plan, the other
a surprise
plan,
to many of us.
shows his 6 units as, I believe it was October.
Yeah,
So
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, and then
Yeah,
he
yeah, it
has
is October.
4, 5, 6.
yep.
And so we're going to leave that plan up for a moment. And then on the town land, there's the potential for some affordable units, undetermined amount, but obviously the preservation of the wetlands, of the valley, it's a true amenity. The site conditions, very handsome woods south of his potential land. But there's been a recent flood that I know you know about that's flooded the house here
Yep.
and this land. And if you go out there, you really can see a plateau and then it builds up to the road.
Right.
And yes, you could landfill this edge, but if you look at setbacks that are required from a buffer, which depending on whether it's the GIS state map or on-site clues of where the wetland begins, you don't have much depth here. It actually turns out to be about a 50-foot deep site.
Yeah.
And if you want a 15-foot frontage, and on Highland, I would say you would, and you have about a 32-foot deep dwelling, that leaves
takes it
very
out.
few feet in the back before you're in the buffer. But no matter what we do, unless we really landfill this up to the street, and it's a good, I would say 5 feet down,
Yeah.
maybe even higher in places. My own gut is, we don't build here. Although initially I thought Highland Avenue is the logical place, but I'm coming to you as recommending from what I see, and that is, we don't build where it can flood.
Yeah.
And yes, we can technically do it, but it's going to cost money.
So does that take into consideration the construction of some of the drainage items that were discussed at town meeting?
So it's my understanding that those are all hypothetical
Yeah.
and that nothing's actually in the.
Brian?
the
It
works.
was money for a study,
there's been a study,
Yeah.
but that doesn't always lead to actual
Okay.
Well, here's,
solutions.
yes.
I was gonna chirp in because the select board was saying, why can't we get more creative in that area and do what they do out on the ocean front, which is built on stilts?
Sure, I'd love to live in a stilt house in Winchester.
I'm
Actually,
just bringing that, they
I-
brought that to our board.
Actually, we
yesterday.
did talk about it. I think I mentioned stilts because down the street from us, there's a house on stilts right along on the Mystic Lake. So whether you call it stilts or
No,
not,
right, it can
whatever
be-
it's called, pylons or whatever it's
I-
called, yeah.
I've done a lot of affordable housing. If you know Mystic View Apartments on I-93 in Somerville, it's the stucco upper portion buildings
yeah.
with green roofs. It won
Yeah,
a
no,
lot
I
of
know.
awards.
That was not under
And the
your
main
name.
mess,
No.
and I've done in New York and
Yeah.
Rhode Island and other places, and the main thing is people want housing that looks like everybody else's.
Right.
Oh, well, this house, like about 40 yards from mine, absolutely looks like all the other
Yeah,
houses.
yeah. You just wrap it, right?
But anyway, I mean, that's a
That's it.
technical
I
issue,
would say
but,
that's entirely up to you, but you still
yeah.
have.
We
the
just
depth.
meant technologically, it's
But you're paying
possible.
for that.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that the state has a maximum amount of money that they're willing to put in to affordable housing per unit.
Right.
And every special thing, and you're gonna see that I'm saying don't park in the building for the same reason. You're gonna price yourself out of the market.
Parking in the building
No,
adds
don't
to
have
the cost.
garages, is what he's saying.
I'm saying it's going to be on-grade parking.
Oh,
Okay.
And I'm going to give you an example of it
Okay.
that I've done in the past. So what I'm actually going to recommend, Brian did a sketch, which is this sketch, showing the road as he would recommend, and this is just an initial, I have a few of these. I think I have a
We'll
few.
share.
It's okay.
It's nice if you can get one out to them.
That pulls away, goes,
Oh,
this
this
would
road.
be a combined scheme
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
that would pull away and gives us more land.
Yeah, I'm glad you're thinking creatively about the road, because that was
Yeah,
one
yeah,
of our
exactly.
questions, does it
I
have to be,
hated
is there
that.
only
Right.
one option?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is a combined scheme now, but the concept is you pull away from the closest house,
Right.
the existing house, that will obviously stay, and this is very thin, and you pull it away and you maximize the buffer along this edge. So the road would turn, the other advantage of that, and
That's
again, it's
electrical.
Brian's idea.
Because he's
I'm
going to
not
have to
gonna
walk up there. So,
wow
no,
that
move
out
your
of here.
coat.
Oh.
Sorry.
Is you're pulling it away from the existing street north of it,
Yeah.
instead of having two streets very close to each other, which transportation-wise
Well,
you
that's
don't
true,
want to
too.
But
do.
Yeah,
Jim
Dana.
Whitehead said at our meeting last night, and I thought, yes, hallelujah,
So
that
what
was a
would this
good.
be?
He also pointed out that it's safer to have
What would
the
that
road
be?
perpendicular to Highland Ave, just so that you have good sight lines. He made a point that roads at an angle are
What would this be?
Yeah.
He's showing
One side.
He's showing a house here.
Right, I know, but town or,
I don't know if I'm being
Yes.
coherent.
Well,
well, I mean, it's technically perpendicular depending on how you look.
yeah,
at it.
it all depends how the
I heard
intersection
the word
is designed.
perpendicular too, but he also was describing how it would curve and come down and south, and this
yes.
is what he was talking about.
Exactly, and as
So
long as you've got,
it
as
wasn't
long as
quite,
the sight lines on the street are fine,
Right.
you're good.
As a car approached Highland, they would approach perpendicular, not at an
Right.
angle. I think the
Right.
way that you have drawn it, you would turn your car as you're gonna go.
Correct.
Into the direction.
Yeah.
As this way, it's very hard to get your car to turn if you're going
Oh,
to
it's
turn
horror.
left at that angle.
Yeah, right.
You fixed it in the way you did this.
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, well, Brian gets credit for that, because I haven't drawn that yet, so.
You guys are, we're a team, so.
So, number 3, again, I mentioned earlier, if you read the map, and actually reads much better on the screen than in reality on the Xerox copies I have, it's confusing of where the wetland is, where it's perceived, where GIS says it is. So I think the only way to, well, a lawyer would look at it conservatively. I look at it conservatively either. I'm not going to misdirect you in any way. So the contour density, you can read it very well on this drawing.
It just means how sheer is the site.
It's much tighter
Yeah.
contours here, which means steeper
Steeper, exactly.
than the town-owned piece of property where the contours are further
Yeah, it's much
apart.
flatter, yeah.
So although in this proposal, and I actually think the units ideally should be closer to Highland from a social point of view.
Right,
And
right.
we can talk
Streetscape,
about that when we get it, but that is an issue because it's not like, I'm going to show you townhouses that I've done, affordable townhouses, I'll pass it around. But these drawings were on a flat site, and when they're not on a flat site, we have to really work in a lot of site work, steps,
Right, you're
how do you
here.
get into
Right.
the accessible unit and all things like that. So on neighbor proximity, I mentioned the issue of how do we relate to the existing houses north, and the one at the corner is by far the closest. So you can see the property line is very close to the one near to the pointer right there. The others are back in the order of 50 feet, 45 feet. Some have additions that get closer, but the one at the corner is the one that concerns me the most. And again, that's why turning the road, as Brian had drawn, makes sense. He also recommended, instead of the 15-foot zoning as it exists, rear yard setback, it should be a 25-foot setback, and I think that's a given. And to preserve as much of that setback as wooded material.
The neighbors would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, so you're talking about 25 feet from this property line
Coming south.
coming south,
Right,
so.
So this is a good depiction,
yes,
yeah. of the
that's right.
25. Yeah,
You're the only one that has that drawing. That's Brian's drawing as well.
okay, yeah.
You have buildings on yours.
Oh, I'm the only one who has that.
Oh, let's
Yeah,
see, Jay.
yeah, because you're the head of the planning board.
Right,
No, it
right.
just worked out that way. So he's,
Don't worry, you don't get special dispensation.
so I'm really
So the
reinforcing.
25 feet is here, so you could draw that on one of them.
That's right.
Right.
The other is just pure sight. Again, I'm just laying out
Yeah,
the rules that I think we want to pursue.
yeah.
Yes.
They might not exactly line up, Heather.
On it.
And then on site desirability for affordable units, one could say, and this drawing is fine to use, that on the flatter portion, which you can build on, it's easier to build, we might even get more units
Right.
because it's fairly big than what so far has been offered.
Because that's relatively small. Yeah.
But it is isolated in the
It
sense
is.
that it's the end of a cul-de-sac.
Sad to say.
I mean, the views must be extremely great at the end here versus that. If you could go to the other drawing. The landowner has offered this, and you can see where the units I'm going to show you are approximately these floor plates. And the other reason why I want to turn the road is we're not going to put parking under the building.
Right.
I mean, we can draw it, I can draw anything you want. We're not going to be able to afford it. I'd much rather put the money into the land and into the amenities. It's going to be on-grade parking, and later on the list, you'll see that I'm going to propose that we actually widen the road in front of these units and have half of the parking on the road. And I'll show you an example of that in a minute that we've done before. So the nice thing about units here is that they're in the middle. They're a community location.
Right.
Down here, it's isolated, and that's sort of the old approach to affordable housing.
Right.
I'll put them in the back, no one will see them.
There was also concern about the water, I'm sorry, Betsy, about the water table or water line there, and whether or not that would even be possible.
This is not,
This is the wetlands
That's-
protection buffer.
I know, I'm just
Yeah.
It's
calling
a
a water
buffer
line, but,
zone.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, whether or not you could have enough space to build there
you
anyway.
can, you can do that. This indeed at least we'd have to check the analysis, but I believe it's correct. You can infringe on the 200-foot from a river distance, 10% of that zone. This is well within that. So taking out his buildings and putting in our buildings, you can do that. So we can build here. It's just comparing site conditions to communal
Yeah,
aspects. And that's something
Yeah.
I'd love to hear.
Well, I guess we were kind of hoping just in a kind of macro sense, and I don't want to stop your flow here, but that at the end of the line here, that you're going to give us multiple plans. So maybe one could propose the
That's
affordable up
exactly,
here and the
yeah.
others on Highland. There was a vibrant discussion with the
Select,
With the
yeah,
select
selectmen
board.
last night, because, and definitely a variety of viewpoints, all completely constructive, but regarding, different priorities and obviously some conflicts, so seeing the plans are really gonna help. And
Well,
just the vision.
one of the things that we're going to have to think about is what the landowner has proposed
not
is
an owner, by the way.
No.
You mean the
the
buyer?
Developer.
rights to the
We call them
landowner
developer.
Too long, it's too
Well, I
long to
just
say,
want to
right?
make sure, because it's
Yeah.
in public and.
has proposed is
Yes, he doesn't actually own the property.
Yes.
the person we're dealing with has proposed that 30,000 square feet of town land is controlled by him down at the end.
Oh, sorry, yeah, so
Those three sites, it's actually a little over 30,000, and in return, we get 14,000 where the pointer is, where the 4 units are.
I'll make that deal.
And he has said that he wants he needs the 6 units to make it work. Now, what we counter-propose, I'm probably jumping ahead here, and I'm not done with the analysis, is that property line, right where Ryan's marker is,
Yeah.
that is there a way to move this, get 2 more units, 6 units, let's say, and conceptually, who knows
Yeah.
what it is, but get more land. And he said he could do that if somehow the zoning allowed him to
If he
have
could get
less
6,
than
yeah, if he could get
10,000
6.
square feet.
If he can get, I mean, he's like, yeah, essentially, we, just to bring you up to speed of last night, very quickly, we had that discussion last night, with the select board, and the portions of, okay, I'm gonna regroup here, and I'm gonna be okay. So it was split.
long
It was
day.
split. It was split between amongst the selectmen, and 2 of them have said flat out, it doesn't seem. It seems like one of the options clearly needs to be the here. That one of them needs to be. He has his land. We have ours. We're done.
Yep,
Period. No,
I agree.
Show us what we can do on our land and whatever. Another idea would be some type of erase all the lines. Come up with the best
Yep.
kind of
Combine lots.
Best and
and
highest use of the land
yeah.
for
And
affordable housing.
and then the other is this kind of almost like a hybrid where he would have his land, but he would build his road. We would allow him to build the road, and then
On town land.
right, and we would allow him to build a little bit of the road on town land. He would own the road or whatever
Well,
is
build
or
it.
there.
yeah,
I'm not really sure.
that's the other drawing.
Right.
The only joint thing would be the utilities in the road.
Right.
And then we would do some type of whatever, a duplex or something or something there. But the point is that the road is not all on his property. That it's also on our property.
Yeah, that's the other
You
drawing.
did a good job.
If you go back to the other drawing, that's the road.
Right, but yeah, these wouldn't be his. They
Or
would
that.
they
No,
would
they
stay
would be
they
ours.
would stay ours.
That's right. I think that's fine. He's going to get 4 units out of that as per zoning. And I think then, as I understand it, he'll go
Walk.
40B.
Yeah.
Well, we're not really sure about
Yeah,
that,
no,
because we
No,
don't,
I get that. I'm just saying that that's,
I mean, that's what
That's
he's
his position
saying.
at the moment.
That's du jour, and not to
Yeah.
sound naive at all, but that wasn't the prior.
I hear
position.
you. I'm just suggesting that the other issue is a house here and a house there. And the zoning is 15 feet. It's not 25 feet. It is 15 feet. So the 25-foot buffer that we were suggesting would be negotiated. If it's you take it,
Or if the road curves.
well, then we're combining sites. Yeah, I actually think there might be advantages
I
all
agree.
around
We
to
all think so.
combining.
We
I
agree.
think the planning board thinks that.
Yes.
Select board.
I think
No, that
we
was
should
news
be-
to us last night at the table when, because we were going, everyone was going at the portion of the only way this is going to work is we have to somehow offer something in order to not have 24 units there. That's so the idea is, well, maybe we could do something with 22. I mean, that's how the whole thing started, and but now it's like maybe we do nothing with them. And my take last night was, well, if we're not willing to play ball at all, then it's a risk. It's a risk for the neighbors, it's a risk for.
But overall, it's an important precaution that we don't necessarily want to jump into something that like has, if we don't have to have a lot of, kind of collaboration.
Well, I'm sure he would prefer that too, because of time.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as he would just walk. I mean, we can't, everyone knows by the end of this month, February, by the end of this month, we need to have something that's mature enough to say, to make him sleep at night, that he will withdraw his application. I have no idea how we're, how we're actually.
Concerns I came away
gonna
with
get there.
from last night is whatever this board ultimately sanctions, that he then can end up buying, or then buying the property and then flipping it, and then we're really locked in. So we're not even with the same person, it's not getting built, it's like we
That's why
just gave
if
everything
we
away.
do change zoning or anything, it has to be very clear what the zoning is and how we write it. I mean, that's as
Sure.
simple as it is. And we can literally put that this is where the house is gonna be. We set the setbacks and the side setbacks and the property lines and do it that way. I mean, that's why I was frustrated because I felt like the select board's like, you can't do it. You cannot go to town meeting and change the zoning. I would say that if, how we change the zoning, and if the neighbors are in support of the zoning
I agree.
change, I don't see why town meeting would sit there and say, no, why are you gonna change the zoning? Well, the whole point of 40B is to make our zoning so it works with affordable housing. If that is what we are doing, I was telling Brian today, I was like, Matt, that's what Mass Housing wants us to do. They
That's
want
right.
us to be flexible with our zoning,
Right.
and that is what we are
But
willing to do.
You're
So
talking about an overlay
or
Just
creating
new
a
zoning.
new district, or.
just on that site?
Yeah,
We've done that.
it's big
before.
enough.
Spot zoning.
My-
It
Yeah.
would have to be an
It's not-
overlay.
We're not doing that, but if we are, that's possible. It's very tricky, but we're not going to be able to do that before springtime meeting, and then it's all pointless.
Well, I have a concern.
Because we'd have to be
Well, let's
ready to
look
go
at
with that
Dennis's.
yesterday. Yeah.
Can we go back to Dennis?
Let's go back to
I want to
Dennis.
insert one short concern here. One is that the state has directed, through the approval of his 40B eligibility letter, that he and we work together on the
Something,
40B project.
something, yeah.
But presumably more in line with increasing the number of affordable units. So that I would like to make sure that we have in excess of the units he's proposing as affordable. So I don't know, he's proposing 6 units.
Oh.
So we need to come up with at least 6 affordable units, because this doesn't look at all what the state sees, right? The state sees 24 units and they say, why don't you work together with the town to do a better job? And so we have to make sure we're doing a better job than 6 units. Otherwise, the state will say, you really haven't worked together at all. And so we have to show that we are willing to do that.
That's a good point.
Well,
Wait,
you can't
really?
get-
I mean, even if it's not a 40B?
No,
The state said, you guys gotta work together.
I know, but isn't that if it's a 40B?
Jackie's, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand, the
But
whole
that's
point
what's
is.
before us.
No.
If the
No, but
developer
it's
decides
one
to
or the
go,
other.
if the developer decides to go with the 40B option and says, the town has not really worked with me at all at improving this 40B option, the state will say, well, you guys had your chance. But if we, I mean, the state is gonna view this as, you've got a 40B
I
on the
know,
table.
but this option, not necessarily this one that
option is
we're,
to escape the 40B,
but, and therefore it wouldn't be a 40B.
Which,
Well,
but that's not what the state's looking at. The state isn't looking at us
But
escaping
if
the
it isn't a 40B,
The state is asking us to, I think that we have to look at this in good faith. And
I
if we
agree.
can come up with an option which has 6+ affordable units, then the state can't say, well, you haven't worked with them.
I'm not necessarily saying we shouldn't have an option with 6 units. I'm just saying
If
that
we-
technically speaking,
Hey, we
it
got-
wouldn't be a 40B.
Right, I heard Jackie too, what you said. But can we go back to Dennis?
Yeah,
and
I'd like to
finish
go back to
before we
Dennis.
get into this?
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
the only way we would have to modify the landowner's zoning.
Simply because he doesn't have enough frontage, honestly.
Right.
And this is why this has legal problems all over it.
So
Just
no
to do
matter
an
what,
overlay-
we-
just to do an overlay on this, just, on this parcel, I have reservations, not that I wouldn't do it with direction from Art. It's totally possible to do it in a but it's not happening before Springtown meeting.
No, that's
Zero, not a 1% chance.
right.
no, I think we'd have to call a special. town
Special
meeting.
though.
Yes, totally
And
possible.
by the
I-
way, special could
sim-
get us
sim-
into
it's-
June. Where are we? February. We should be able, I know it's fast from your perspective, but because the special can be brought at the end of town meeting in June or like 2 weeks after in June. So,
That's
anyway, that's sort of logistic type thing or
But
calendaring,
the
but.
frontage in terms of if we create a road, and then we have the subdivision
Mhm.
issue because we're creating
Waiver.
a waiver on it, but the,
The waiver is easy. It's in
The
it's in the
planning
public's
board-
best interest for us to, if we're gonna have 6 affordable units there to begin with, we might, if we're doing it ourselves, we can do it with 6 units and have a cul-de-sac. So the waiver for the cul-de-sac is super easy at the subdivision level.
Because it would be for us.
There's a reason, well, no, the reason would be that it would be in the public's interest.
Well,
for,
Well, that's why we
Yeah.
would do it in the first place. That's
and
right.
that would. and
Still better
setting
than
precedent,
4
but
large structures
we're-
there so.
The question I had for you is, is this that you showed, what size are you showing in here, square footage on these footprints?
That's Brian's drawing, which
14?
I've recommended
12.
950 square feet per affordable
That's what
unit,
I want.
average. It's
Personally.
2 and 3.
Good, Heather.
So,
So,
I was talking to Brian about
These are
this
showing 850
It's
footprints.
today, and I'll go to you. 'cause you see
950
them.
average,
On the footprint, single story, or are you talking about? the
two
Okay.
floors.
Okay.
Two full floors? with a
Yeah,
lot
it's
more-
actually these units. This is what I was
Keep
going to
going.
show you.
Yeah, keep going.
So I'm a real believer that part of the issue with neighbors, as well as setting a precedent
Yeah.
for the town building affordable housing, is to build something that feels
Yeah.
Yeah.
like New England
That's
and
why
the
I wanted to
town.
Bring you in.
So,
That's why he got the job.
This is a project that did not get built in Oakland, and
But you should see him doing the road too, by the way.
But one of the points, and there are other prototypes, it's similar prototype, it's a 2 and 3 bedroom attached.
How many units are those across?
Oh, let's see, I want to see that.
This
too.
would be 6.
Oh, that's
I'm not proposing that building.
Right.
Because I think the neighbors behind you are.
No, I'm not,
6 units across.
no, that one is 4 units.
Is
Oh,
that-
no, that's 6 as well.
It's very
There's 6
nice.
doors.
It's very nice.
But the note,
It's
the
low.
important
It's-
part
it's the height
is
down.
Heights low.
the aesthetic.
Exactly.
And there's nothing fancy there. I know you've talked about bringing in the nonprofit whose name I
Habitat
immediately...
for Humanity.
Yeah,
Well, they're
Habitat.
interested.
And they don't build this way.
Right, yeah. you
And
don't
so
want-
whatever you establish will become the prototype, and people will
Exactly.
say, not in my backyard.
Exactly. Good
If
for
it
you.
doesn't turn out well. And all I'm getting at is the square footage. This was approved, what I'm showing you was rated 98.5% by the state
Do you have a sketch of this?
when we did this.
Oh,
This
that's
was
helpful.
30 years ago, by the way. But it was, and the site plan, which is what I wanted to point out, is the parking requirements are huge. Now, this is a much bigger development. but it means having parking between buildings or having parking on, and/or on the street in front of this. And I'm recommending on one side of the street, there is some street parking. One parking space per unit would be in an adjacent parking lot, but you will find, even if you do just 2 family units to the scale, a little smaller than the houses north, you're going to be eating up all the woods.
Yikes.
And where the contours are steeper, you're going to eat it up even more. That's the other reason I wanted to move the road south.
Exactly, because the way the water comes off of that hill,
That's right.
I mean, you really need to retain the trees
That,
as much, to the greatest extent
as
that we
much as you
can.
can, and that's where the buffer comes in, as much as possible. So that project that will be
Yeah, where
passed
is it?
around, it's in Oak, it was in Worcester. It didn't get built. I'll explain why later. Shows how much parking eats up the land. And that's my very big concern here. And that indeed, parking will dictate what we can put on the site. I agree with Diab that whatever we could get family, single family for the owner, developer would-be owner, would be the same number that we would try to get for affordable housing. And I wasn't told that, it just seemed right that that be the case. I assume we're going to go after some state money, and this is the approach they generally like. Now, it's a very different
Wait, I'm sorry,
project.
what's this means what? Fill in back up? Not a long sentence, just rewrite it. instead of this.
Houses, units that feel like regular houses,
yeah. Well, I
because
think
they're
that's
regular people.
Exactly.
Sensitive to the land. That was a very hilly site, and the vertical is a bigger vertical than here,
Oh,
actually.
interesting, yeah.
And so these townhouses were going to be staggered going up a hill. And that was before ADA. So we could get away with some things we don't
Right.
want to do now. So I'm optimistic, but I'll be honest with you, my big issue is more what goes here on the town land. What would be easy for us to do is build the housing there, but socially, it just doesn't feel right to me.
kind of.
And here, there's more of a premium, even if we pull the road close to the wetlands. So as you drive in, you actually have a view down the valley and
That's
then
true,
come up.
yeah.
Yeah, because actually that would be a beautiful view, because you're looking basically across, right across the valley, and it is a beautiful
And
view.
it does flatten somewhat here, and we could flatten it and still keep the buffer of trees along this
Oh,
edge.
that would be great.
And then moving this line, this is the zoning change, moving this line in quite a bit to get 2 more units. He gets 6, it's tight.
And then there'd be nothing on the south side of the
No,
road,
this
nothing
would,
could fit.
because the road would be right here,
Right,
Right.
So,
and the
so
houses would be right
so like
there.
according to this,
he got 6 because he
So
has
nothing
the
would
2
fit
down
there.
below the road there.
He had, yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
but nothing would fit in here. If the road was
If you
moved,
look at that drawing, it shows 50 feet where your finger is
yeah,
to the buffer,
yep,
and 50 feet, a 32-foot deep house leaves 18 feet, that's 3-foot backyard.
Yeah. You got no room there.
I'm still a little concerned about the loss of the land next to the conservation land,
Yeah,
and that really disturbs me.
yeah. We
You
can
mean-
do
you
it
mean up
there,
top?
that would be the easiest.
South of the cul-de-sac.
Do you want, would you go up the,
No, Brian's got it right there.
Yeah.
Those 3 units.
Well, they would be
that would-
accessed off the road, the new road.
yeah,
But they're taking away
It wouldn't-
a buffer to the conservation land, and so that really concerns me. Because
Yeah.
right now, there's nothing there, it's just continuous conservation.
well, I mean,
essentially.
is it fair to say that the size may impact that, your, opinion? Getting
Well-
back to the whole like cottage idea, or
Well, it's
smaller?
also a question of, you're going to have,
Like, in other words, if the footprint in those, parcels
actually-
are smaller.
No, it's not the footprint, it's the fact that you're going to be introducing lawns, you're
Yeah.
going to be introducing pesticides and herbicides, you're taking away some of the continuity in the conservation land for wildlife.
Water absorption.
Water, I mean, that is
That's
just,
any construction,
Well, this is your only
too.
land. So the question is there affordable housing or isn't there?
well, I guess, let me make sure that I'm construing what you've got correctly, in that you're saying that we're gonna get a chunk here, and that this L-shaped thing essentially goes to the developer.
We either develop here or he does and we get this in return.
Okay, so that's the swap,
Yeah, so,
considering that this is all essentially undevelopable.
well, that's still.
Too much
in-
money, just
in the
too much
area.
money.
Yeah,
It's
that's what
not
I'm
undeveloped,
saying.
yeah.
If nothing else,
Then
too much
it's
money.
going to be difficult to develop. If you
Right.
know this house.
Yeah, we know the
um,
house.
Yeah, it's,
I mean,
One
this
that gets
is,
flooded out
this is
regularly.
the culvert underground,
Mhm.
and I wouldn't be surprised that even leaks. But Brian knows better, or potentially could leak.
It's just
well,
not big
one
enough.
one of the things we discussed was moving the culvert.
Yeah.
So instead of going through here, it actually goes to the
You
road.
still have to raise the land.
Still have to raise the land, okay.
But putting a road through, that's not an issue as much.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Well, that was the thinking, and again, Brian's initiated that.
Faustian bird.
That's-
So the real question is this property in discussion, based on the comments Diog just
Well, I
made?
guess it's still up in discussion, because you've
And-
presented
and
pretty.
a gentleman in the audience said that DCR is not keen on anything built beyond
That's right,
the gate.
yeah.
Well, this
Correct.
is beyond the gate.
Well,
Well, their proposal is that that exit would only be for
No, I know.
we're
one
taking
lot.
that
It's
away,
for
we're
DC
taking
it's
the
for
access off that
DCR.
road,
Yeah.
DCR.
No, no, I get that, but I thought the gentleman was talking
It
about.
still seems pretty crammed.
I've spoken with the, Sean Casey, Brian knows who he is, he's in charge of the permit. And he was, when I told him what was being discussed here, he was very surprised. And, they're really sensitive to anything being, Brian, as you know, Sean Casey, in the DCR.
Yes.
I don't know if he's contacted you or not.
No, I haven't, Sean's not been, I know who he is, but he isn't, I've talked with him only a couple times, but I have not talked with him
I do
recently.
know him, I haven't spoken, I do know him.
Mhm.
When I told him.
I mean, that's good that he's sensitive because he should be, because,
That's their job.
yeah.
It's
It's always interesting, though, how does that kind of play with mass housing? Like, does
Exactly.
mass
You know, they
housing
shut
even
down the
care?
previous-
Yeah.
Any roads going to North Border Road, so when I told him what was going on with the fire road that was
Yeah.
gonna be kind of built near.
That's a little different.
Yeah,
He was very surprised at it and
Yeah, no, they both said that they would go as far as to put a permanent gate.
right, but yeah, but this has nothing to do with that. This is with the building on that land that abuts that fire road, the DCR. He was very sensitive about it. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. I
Wait,
mean,
how
he has a-
sensitive is he, though? How sensitive, as
I
far
don't
as
know.
like
I
mass
didn't get
housing?
more-
I know.
I didn't get more into it with him.
There's no authority,
Right.
I don't think, I mean, if it's our land, I mean, I'm not trying to cause any problems with the state, but I don't think they.
there is
yeah.
one concern, and that is if we go with a smaller cul-de-sac, there isn't gonna be enough frontage for this lot. So it will need to have a driveway off of this road.
No,
Well-
because on cul-de-sacs, and we have it in all subdivisions, they can be severely diminished because it's on a radius. So it doesn't have to have the full front,
Yeah,
it's
like
a
a
horrible
pie.
word,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have to have the maximum or the minimum frontage necessary. The minimum frontage is maybe even 30 feet less or 25 feet less, significantly less.
Okay, because I note that in this revised drawing, with the smaller cul-de-sac, this building did have a driveway. on
It's a
this side.
percentage of the, I can tell you what, but I
Okay.
bet you that they could easily fit.
Staring at the cat. Can I just ask one other question? It's repetitive, but so there's no way anything else could fit here? Because if something else could fit here, then we might be able to, not have all that conservation land used, and then if we have to kind of juggle the numbers.
Go more
push
When
it
I-
back.
Jackie.
When I first went out to the site, I
Not in any way-
thought for sure Highland Avenue should be built up.
I felt that way, yeah.
And I went out to the site, and what I saw tell me,
Yeah, no, I know, but we're really familiar with the house that's there.
no, I'm,
But just south of
the
it-
way, the lay of the land,
Yeah.
the way the buffer is, if you look at
'Cause there is
that
a-
map, the buffer seems even, look, the buffer touches the house on that map.
Well, I was gonna say, there is a house
Here's the
here.
drain. Going right,
Yeah, I know, that could not be built today.
yeah,
Right.
I mean, we,
The neighboring house could not be built today.
I hear you, but
I think the answer I think that you're looking for is that it's cost prohibitive. Is that yes, you're saying can you fit it? The answer is yes,
But it's cost.
but it's
Yes,
cost
yes,
You
prohibitive.
can do anything for money.
Are you looking for a house site for yourself?
no,
Is-
no, it's just sort of obvious because if there's
Yeah.
space there that we could sort of exploit, so that then
I
these could be
know.
moved down in
Yeah.
light of what Diab's saying, so that they're not cramming 3 houses at the
Yeah,
top.
where we don't
And
want
that, you know, because it's just sitting there, it's just, I mean, on paper anyway. But I mean, we've all been there multiple times, and there is this house here.
So you're
and
saying
obviously-
private or affordable? Town? or-
Either, what, any kind of I'm not even getting
Well,
past.
town is
Are
smaller.
you talking about this right down here?
No,
Correct.
closer to the existing house.
pointing to here.
Well, whatever, I don't know where the marker is here, how much land we
You
have
have
here. if we have
50
even-
feet, and you don't have the distance to get a house in.
Right,
That's misleading.
yeah.
You have to go to
Enough room.
the other drawing.
So this is.
I just don't want to rule something out if it
I'm
might
with
be
you.
possible.
No, I'm glad
just
you're
wondering,
asking.
where the heck?
You also can't build on the culvert, I will add.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out which line is the actual road. This one?
Yes,
Whose
this is.
So
culvert
this is
is
not
it?
buildable down
Who
there in this
owns
corner?
the
I just
culvert?
wanna make sure that's-
That was ours, yeah.
From here,
For money.
According to the analysis,
yeah, I just wanna,
Well, let's move the
And-
culvert.
this is 50 feet.
Easier said than done, but that's, yeah.
How much would that, any guess, I mean, just
So-
a,
I,
If you want a 50
I haven't even-
setback and have a 30-odd foot feet
yeah, you could put the road over it. You could put parking over it.
line is
You just can't put houses.
It's something that you need to be able to, tear up.
They have to be able to
basically.
get in there in case they
Right,
need
right.
smaller repairs.
Yeah, you can't put
my question
infiltration.
is,
That's
Can't
very
put
is this land,
It
is it
is
buildable? Is this-
expensive,
Is this
yes.
the land that you consider, prone to flooding here?
right here is prone to flooding.
That whole area, so
Well-
even this area?
Well, we know,
No, you
I mean-
could, but the depth is insufficient.
You're just talking about the
depth of the
land.
lot.
Where you can build is 50 feet, and if you want a setback in the front, you gotta take that out of the 50 feet. You will have to raise this land so the trees come all down.
because that land is sloped, so, I mean, we're really familiar with this area, just like you are. So the one house that's had all the water in it and that sort of thing, we're really familiar with that. But then south of that, which is actually slopes up, so, and I'm not being naive.
Slightly.
Yeah, okay, so I'm not saying it wouldn't have any water issue, but it sure would be handy if something could be built there,
We can draw a
because,
house there,
because then we could sort of push
but you
down.
will take it out.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to draw a house there, but you will take it out. Because the back wall will be right on the buffer line
Yeah.
to the wetlands. And we're basing it on a drawing
There you go.
that hasn't been detailed out on the site.
Right, so I hear you, I totally get all that, and just one last follow-up. So the area that's deeper into the site, near the fells,
And you have no.
lots
room for
4, 5, and
parking.
6, where we see kind of the wetlands kind of buffer. So that isn't, that's less unattractive from a water perspective than this part that we're talking about right there? Yeah.
I'm actually surprised.
Yeah, right there. Every time I drive by there, I think,
I
well, what if
agree.
you, yeah,
I
like.
agree.
So-
I know, I'm kind of,
We can do it, I'm just telling you, it's not just the house or 2 units, it's 2 units and parking on a very tight site.
Right.
I can draw it,
What
but
if
that'll
it-
be one of the
What if it
alternatives.
went, you know, and I know it doesn't look as good, but what if the shape was a little bit different, like it went
Can
deeper and
be.
had
Yeah, yeah.
less front elevation?
right.
A prototype is a prototype,
You
you're
still
not
have
gonna
the
change
culvert
it that
inside.
much.
Right.
The culvert goes around that house into the front, you're still in the line of the
The cul-
culvert.
the culvert's right, the culvert's like right here. It's like right
Exactly.
here.
Yeah.
Right there.
But it's uphill.
Keep
from
in
the
mind
top.
that this
Well,
is the rim, it goes down, so we're gonna go up another 8 feet. So there's gonna be, at the back of the house, there's going to be a pretty gigantic drop. I can draw it.
How far close to this other house do we have? Is it
Well,
at
their
that
land
slope?
comes over to here.
It just would be handy.
I mean, basically, you have to do what they did.
Oh,
You have to take down the
oh,
trees.
that's an idea. And elevate
Take
it?
down the trees and landfill the land.
Maybe that's still better than
Yeah.
going into the.
Because
that
then,
other
then the
site.
trade-off that
But-
Dia was sensitive about, then there wouldn't be as much of a trade-off. I mean, it'd be actually using that land and it's on
I would
Highland.
recommend having a view corridor from Highland,
Well, that's true too.
so that you're sharing it and you're not spoiling the land,
Okay.
and having a dramatic drop.
Well, everything is trade-offs.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why the
Oh,
multiple plans will be
absolutely.
great.
Exactly.
But here's the thing, a
But could we
kid,
have one plan with something on there, just one of the multiples, even if it's just an academic exercise, because we may get
I can do
asked.
3 plans.
for-
Actually, I
it's okay.
told Brian 2 for the price,
Right.
because of the
Right.
meetings
Yeah,
we're having.
no, you're right, you're fair. We
And
understand.
here's the thing, if some child falls in the natural setting, that's one thing. On the affordable housing site,
Well,
in the backyard, we're all liable.
right.
I mean, I won't be doing it, but, it just does not feel right. I'm happy to draw it as one of the options, but you will,
Yeah.
Well, if there's
I know,
only
but then
two
it would-
options,
because
that's
look at-
unfortunate. 'cause
no,
look how
I'll
there'd
do
be more.
3. I'm saying, because you've said it tonight, Brian has said it, but I can't
Well,
keep.
everything's trade-offs. The whole site is
Well,
trade-off. So
right,
all we're
but-
trying,
but
there's
you-
no
but-
perfect plan. I mean, let's just get that out there. There's no perfect plan. All of this is about trade-offs, right? So, anyway,
I think there's really 2 options, but I'm willing to do 3,
Yeah, 'cause-
which is a
yeah, 'cause when I-
cottage
yeah, 'cause when-
approach.
Yeah, because when, yeah, I like that idea.
but the
Yeah, but-
cottage approach, is that related to affordable or to his? Like, can't we be?
Both.
It's-
Yeah, okay.
But the one thing to,
I don't think
So
we'll
it's a-
go for it at all.
essentially, it's all the lots stay the same. All the lots are different, but would be more conforming to zoning, and a third option would be a cottage style or cluster style
Right.
that incorporates both.
And would,
And parking will be the dominant issue there.
okay, and if it's, and the
Clus-
last
the cluster,
example,
yeah.
would there be more units or 6?
Well, I mean, I think I don't know what the footprint would be. I mean,
Can you?
Footprint would be pretty comparable.
so the same about 800 footprint.
I have 950 on average, well, that's 2-family, 950.
I would say 500 per unit for each footprint.
In a cottage?
Or just, well, I'm saying, what were you, for the single families, you were using his, but for our affordable, you were using 950 for a duplex.
For 2 units, the floor is 950.
So and it's
That's what I've done
Two
before.
full floors at 950.
That's right.
Gotcha,
So each unit is average 950, but one is 3-bedroom, so it's more than 950, and the other's 2-bedroom, so it's less than 950.
Okay.
It's about 900 and 1,000.
Can you go down the street for me? To the left, towards the house that's coming down? And look at the house to the left of it.
Wow. Oh, yeah.
Wait, to the,
On Dana?
on Dana, you're saying here?
Yeah, no, keep going, keep turning on Highland, keep turning towards the
Keep
left.
going
Nope,
down, here we go,
nope.
there we go, here's Dana.
No, not on Dana, on Highland, looking to the left of the house that is.
The one that's in-
22 Highland.
On the corner,
Okay.
the Dutch Colonial,
Here, let me
This
just.
is 22 Highland, this is the corner, I don't know where you're saying.
the Garrison.
This is Highland, I want a
Gambrel.
perspective from here, looking that way, with this house and this land here.
The
looking
funny
like
thing
that.
is I can't see anything, because you're blocking it.
It's, yeah.
Right there,
No, I was
park
looking
yourself
at-
right there.
Okay.
So where?
All right, so we have the culvert coming in right through here, correct?
Yeah,
Right about
approximately.
So you were talking
maybe a little
about
further up.
bringing the road right over to here, so it like just skims that corner, correct, which is not.
Yeah, you would have
it
some
would
buildup.
Turn, yeah.
It actually turned more here, because it comes down here.
Yeah,
pretty
so
much, But we would never build that close, so bringing in the road more over with the driveway.
that was, yeah,
And
just
then you
one
have this
concept.
land here, where are you saying that 5 feet drop is a concern? Is it closer over to here, or, because I see
No,
this all
You
is
can't, you
buildable.
can't see it from, you can't see it from here, but, here, I'll go.
It's the
Could you
backyard.
make the road come
Actually,
closer?
actually, yeah, there, you can see,
It's
you
right
can,
there.
yeah, well, no, that's,
It's not there, it's up here.
hold on, I'm gonna do it from
Could you make the
here.
road closer to go farther south?
I can't see what you're showing.
So the drop that,
So it like more like that?
Yeah, but you have to stay away from the buffer. That's indeed what I was going to
the drop
propose.
is here.
And then there could be two.
It's not, because I wasn't seeing it.
If you want to be close to that existing house on Dana Street.
And on from here. But yeah, so
I will
this-
try that.
but this
I
is
will
the
try
drop. It
that.
just goes like this and this
Oh,
goes
we
down,
don't, I'm not
down.
necessarily saying,
No, I will
Yeah.
try that.
Try what?
well, the idea is if he moves the road, since this isn't really buildable, but moves it farther south, then is it possible that there'd be more options in here?
Well, that's what I was.
It's possible, but again, it's parking and building.
Right.
What's
And
the deal? You're saying parking?
parking
Could the
takes
parking
up
be in
the
the back?
same square footage as the floor plate of each unit.
Are we talking about mass housing idea for parking, or you're?
350 square feet per lot.
Do they mandate what they want for parking?
Well, the zoning says 2 per unit.
Okay, but take the zoning out of the equation on the parking.
Yeah, but again, if you want regular housing,
Right.
You
You're
can't
not
have,
near
you cannot have,
downtown.
not have parking.
No, where I'm going with this is I'm thinking of so much of our neighborhoods right around here. It really,
Don't have any
They
off-street.
don't have any- They have off-street and they have.
They-
well, they have.
No, I
but
mean,
they're-
they still have
what Dan
driveways,
calls
but they-
parking
they
pads,
have
parking,
you know, it's
so-
They
very.
have a pad, yeah.
The other pads.
Or a pad, but I mean, is
There is
are
park- but there
street
is
parking
not.
allowed on Dana? Does anyone park on Dana Ave? Sometimes. Sometimes, but everyone has access to. I mean, I don't see how we could not
And
have.
if you have people coming in.
I'm not saying no parking, but I'm
now,
just.
we will
wondering
be
if-
required to have parking, whether
Whether it's
it's,
on street or what, I mean, there still needs, I mean,
I have a different question, but sort of related to that, I've been wanting to ask. Partly because I just find the idea of being a party to a cul-de-sac so concerning. Could this whole thing be developed as a private road instead? As, you know, like the. I
A
mean,
loop
we have-
road.
Well, basically, loop
right?
road,
Well,
yes,
because
there's
if
that.
if it's not a cul-de-sac, how else are you gonna?
Right, okay,
do it.
hang on to that thought, but actually what I did mean was more like a condominium development where it's just, no, I meant private road, so that it's
well, the
never-
fire engine still has to be able to turn
Oh,
around.
understood, but it's a different legal distinction, so that it's not a town road, it's a private road. It's not a public road, it's a private, I don't know how else to phrase it.
Well,
I happen to live in a private road. We have
Actually,
private roads
the
in town.
would-be landowner has labeled it a private road in that drawing.
Oh, in fact, you're right, private drive, yeah. So there's
Yeah, because it was a
that.
driveway, it was a road, there was no.
And so what does
way
that
to-
mean? So then we don't have to have.
But
Well,
can
it's not
I say
necessarily
something?
Subdivision legally, yeah.
Notice this drop-off?
Yeah, this is, because you couldn't see it straight
That's the
on.
problem. So even if you don't come up all the way, think about the drop
that
at
the
the
road will
wetland.
flood?
Yeah,
I can't see it. Yeah,
you're also
from
right up on the buffer, so you wouldn't really be able to fill in much anyways.
That's right.
That's right,
That's right.
exactly.
No, but the road-
45-degree angle if you're lucky.
Right, because you don't need to necessarily
Yeah.
fill that in.
What if we were to change the size
But you
of
could
this?
elevate the road?
Which
here.
is,
No, it's just, you have to be able to get to
Why don't we make
under
a
the
6,500
culvert, so that's why you can't put a
square
house
foot
there.
lots
If you
instead
put
of-
a road there, you tear it up.
Closer to North Main.
if we change the lots to 6,500, he can get his end houses in. We could maybe save the back of this lot,
Yeah,
and all of the houses will be much more reasonably sized.
right.
We can, I mean.
There's
I-
no abutting RG though, it's, to have it,
We can do an overlay.
Actually, 10 units at 6,500 is even more square footage than he's taking now, so it would have to be less.
And then that came
And
to
that-
my question is, so you're saying that they want to feel like they're in a house that is comparable. In North Main, there are great little houses.
No,
that-
it can be a little house, but it should look like a house.
Yeah,
Sure.
but, so even
agree, we
1800,
agree.
so this goes back to the conversation, we have, in town, there is actually a demand for tiny houses, not 1,800 square foot houses.
You're talking about the private ones.
Private little
Yeah,
tiny
well,
houses.
yeah, but
Just smaller houses?
we can say that, but if he's
That's like
not
400 square
interested,
feet or less is what you're.
No, but the
Is
town,
it affordable?
unless we're just going to build 100 affordable, the towns are. But ours, if we're not, and we're talking about, you can do the little, and he can do more than 6 if you did the tiny little houses.
But we could.
Right, but he has to agree to that.
And we also already talked about the fact that if we were doing a lot more of these duplexes or a lot more of these houses, all the trees are gone anyway. So
But.
there's a lot here.
You have to do
There- you know,
basements and everything
Can we
now?
go back to this? to this
I'm
map?
assuming not in the affordable.
Yeah, it's because you do
That's up
stuff
to,
on grade, you're not dealing with that much.
he is showing basements. He has parking underneath.
On
And
his,
his,
on his affordable.
on his,
proposal?
Yeah,
on
his-
his regular house, full-size houses.
So these are all 10,000 square foot lots, right?
Correct.
yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so what if we shrunk them to 8,500? Okay, I mean, I know that you can build a 3,000 square foot house on an 8,500 foot lot because that's happening right next to my 5,700 foot lot, square foot lot. So I know they can build, and they're gonna sell it for 1.3 million, they're gonna get their money, they'll be happy.
Sorry.
So we can, if we can take this lot out, give him lots, move this down so that there is a buffer with the neighbors. I'm really trying to protect some of that land.
Yeah,
And
I'm
if we
with
can
you.
move these houses away from here and put them here, and provide enough buffer so the neighbors don't, you know, give them as much buffers as possible. And just shrink the lots, and he can build expensive.
So
houses
it's only
on this.
private development.
Well, we're talking about his versus, we're talking about splitting this land, or, you know, having 2 separate developments anyway. The towns and the developers.
But you took away the town site below the cul-de-sac, it sounded like.
Yeah, because
That
if we don't have this, because if this is his, and if no land swap means this is his and he has all of that, and then
Yes,
if you're
but-
concerned with this, then we're basically building a duplex at 22, which is something, but not
Probably
real.
not.
No one's
Flip
really
side
winning
is-
there.
But
yeah.
the flip side is, if we say, we'll give you smaller lots, and he can build his 5 or 6 houses up on there, I don't know if the square.
And then we
footage
still
works.
get this front portion.
And we
You're
still
saying.
get that. So we compromise by saying, you can build some of the road on our land. We will give you enough lots so you can meet your number, and in return, we get that front part so that we can build houses there. And that doesn't mean we can't build houses on the back, it's just maybe we can save that last lot from development. So that we can pull away from the conservation land.
So, Deb, you've mentioned 2 things. One is you don't want to build near the conservation, but the other one is you want to get you want to get as many affordable units.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this
They're,
is,
they're contrasting each other.
well, not if we shrink the lots, maybe there's a way of doing it.
Yeah, but we're gonna have to shrink it to half size,
Right.
to 5,000 square feet.
Which is,
None. Well, we
Yeah.
don't even. That's.
And it's
That
gonna
doesn't
be
really
all
leave-
buildings
that really
then.
doesn't leave
I mean,
any-
well, yeah. Then it would definitely be a very specific type of overlay.
I
Which
guess.
again, I still don't think we're on
It's
the
funny,
time frame.
it's a zero-sum game, though. If the lots are smaller, then there's more open space.
Yeah, I mean, my house is on a
Less
5750 square foot lot,
Less.
I've got a pad for the car,
Well,
I've
more
got a
The house will be
backyard.
bigger on a smaller.
I know, but more, I'm sorry, Dia, but more undeveloped open space. It's a zero-sum game. There's a finite amount of square footage. So if the lots are smaller, then that just means there's more
The
undeveloped
real
land.
question is, you're right, preservation versus affordable housing.
Right.
He's gonna
I
do
mean, I'm not
what
stating a
he's going to
preference,
do.
I'm just stating
No, I-
that's, yeah.
So what this was that at the Highland, not in the valley, that's developed and the valley is preserved. That's what this is, the
Right,
approach.
it's-
And I extended the valley to Highland, basically.
Right, so it's hard to have the valley, all of that undeveloped and the part that's concerned.
No,
with
it
the
just means no affordable housing. You can do that.
That's, yeah, but we, that's.
Talking myself out of a job here. You can do that,
It's trade-offs.
but it's not what has been asked for.
Exactly, because we have been struggling with affordable housing issues,
I know.
and to
yeah,
do it well,
yeah.
high quality.
Brian, can you go to the plan that separates our land from okay, so looking at this and looking at this, can we even get a road to take away just talk about the town's land?
No,
We cannot even get a road up into here.
No.
So-
Well, why-
yeah,
I don't know
no,
why-
given
why
the
couldn't-
ledge, go ahead, Brian, you studied it.
It's going to be very tight, and it's also right on the
Buffer.
the cliff, basically, whatever you want to call it. So, if money's not an object, sure.
This
Right.
this is
sure
a
that-
little misleading when you go out there.
Yeah, this is a cliff.
Five
Yeah, the-
contours each.
It's a-
It's like a 15
Oh,
to
okay.
20 foot
It's a cliff,
drop
boom,
right
there.
here.
Boom, yeah.
Okay, so here's to the planning board. We can't use that land unless we do a negotiation with
Right.
Yes.
the applicant.
The other.
The applicant.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the requests was that we look at just developing our land, based on what's pretty much being said, we'd have to relocate that culvert, taking away just looking at the town land again. We can't get a road in, so we'd have to just build on Highland, whatever we could do on Highland Avenue, and that's it, and then leave them there. The other option is we can, try to get that front lot, and try to negotiate that and let him put the road partially on our land and then some on his land, and try to get the front lots while keep giving him his thing, it didn't,
Rear parcels.
the rear, yeah, and the rear parcels really, I mean, if you look at how much square footage, who's benefiting from this? And in some ways, and I know. He is.
Right. At least everybody's listening to you.
Who's benefiting from what? And we're trying to, so I think that might be part of the reason why the select board wanted to separate the two a little bit and call us bluff.
I understand that.
And let him go through. So going forward, we can't build up there without that road. So since he's only gonna do 2 or 3 options, Dennis is gonna only do 2 or 3 options. And he wants 6. Do we get confirmation? Did legal counsel get back to us today?
No, but, so, yeah.
So we don't actually know what that 6 means
no.
fully.
Well, we know what the 6 means is that it's either 6 conforming or 6 non-conforming. He's just concerned with being able to sell 6 houses.
No, we were talking about size last night.
I wanted size, I wanted the size
Yeah,
of the
that's what
6
we wanna
houses this
know.
time.
Art was supposed to talk to.
Yeah, Art has to talk with his attorney before I'm supposed to talk
Dennis,
to
what
Craig.
we're wondering.
I think he can only get 4, and I haven't studied it in detail on his property as per zoning. Forget about the road problem.
Yeah, no, he
Get
definitely
that.
can get, he could, if he put a road there, he could have gotten 4 for zoning, we're sure of that.
Max,
Yep,
Right.
yes,
max.
that's what we thought, yes.
With a 10,000 foot.
yes.
10,000 square feet, 80 feet of frontage.
But he's got the
conforming.
road problem,
Conforming
obviously.
lots.
Right.
Right, but with the road there, I would like to know how many lots he could get into his property if we shrunk the size of the lots. Could we give him 6 houses on that property if we shrunk the lots, or would that be just?
Well, we'd have to shrink it by to 2/3. So it would be about a
7,000.
6,500 to 7,000 square foot lot.
That's.
That's small.
That's the well, yeah, the RG is
That's an
6,500.
RG,
The RG is
6,500.
6,500.
There's plenty of houses that are perfectly livable. The question is, how big of a house does he want? If he's happy with a 1,500 to 2,000 square foot house, heck, if you go down Hemingway, they got 4,000, they've got 2 4,000 foot units on a 10,000 foot lot as a duplex. So we know they can pack huge units in. So on a 6,500 or 7,000 square foot lot, you can put in a 2,000 square foot.
And with all the open space, you could make an argument that
Yeah.
you can justify a smaller lot
Yeah.
because there's so much open space around, so.
And if he builds it right, you'll be in the woods, hopefully, and so he'll get his prices.
I'm just more concerned about the mechanics of making that happen in a time frame that's reasonable.
So let's go to another thing with where, I'm sorry I'm going backwards a little bit. So originally he wanted the proposal, it didn't go through because he couldn't get the road off of the RDC and because he couldn't do a cul-de-sac. If the planning board went back and looked at it and negotiated that and reduced the sizing of the houses and the setbacks off of, like to the 25, is that?
You mean having him go through subdivision? I mean, I don't see how you, he wouldn't be able to,
We've been
I don't
down
see
that
how
road.
he'd be able to go to subdivision simply because if we push the houses away, there wouldn't be enough space for engineering to be happy with the road and enough space for the utility under that road. That's what we ran into last time.
That's right.
So if we went even further, like they basically barely just got it in there, but they did. If we're now pushing the houses further,
No, what I'm saying is taking originally what he proposed, what he wanted, and he couldn't get, which had no,
Which
we
was-
had no control over.
you're talking about essentially a cul-de-sac with 4 houses.
Yep,
Uh-huh.
and then negotiating where that road lands. That's pretty much what I think, I don't wanna put words in select board member Rico's mouth, but I think that's kind of where it's.
He was like, he was interested.
We deal with the road and the utilities, or we make him deal with the road and the utilities. And we push everything into our land a little bit with the road and give him his 4 lots. But we put conditions on it that he can't be within 25 feet. He needs to retain the buffer. And we look
Right,
at
so
that as one of our
let's say
options.
most of the road would be on our land, so we would be able to push everything down, push everything south.
Like that drawing.
Actually, the best you're going to do is what Brian
Yeah.
drew, and most of the
Not su-
road is
not
on,
surpri- Yeah, not
No,
on
it's
surprising.
not
his land.
surprising. It's-
Yeah, so most is on his land.
But the end of it is on ours.
Right. It's on ours.
Both ends.
So, right, so we would be able to push it, if we would be able to push it even further down. It's a question of, we don't really want to get, do we want, I guess that's the operative question. Do we want to be the building down here? That's, if we don't want to be building down there, or if the select board doesn't, if the town doesn't want to be building down here, we're not getting much benefit from this road that we're getting really no benefit from the road.
No,
So,
so that went back to my why.
Well
why don't
said.
we go
yeah,
back?
Well
so,
said.
so either we want
I
that
keep
road
thinking,
or.
what are we doing here?
Why don't we go back
What am I
and-
missing?
Yeah, why don't we go back and just do conditions in terms of setbacks and size of that house, that 4 houses?
You're saying back in through subdivision, and then where would the road would be? Some of it on his land, some of it on our land. Then that's not a subdivision. That's some type of a development agreement. And then it's a
The road,
subdivision.
though, could be a T. The end doesn't have to be a cul-de-sac, it could be a T.
It's
The
considered
town-
the same in terms of our subdivision
But
rules.
it
and
would
regs.
take up less space.
It would take up
Yeah.
less
Right,
space.
right, I
and-
hate those big round, that was another thing we
Yeah, that's a
wanted to
good
get away
point.
from, yeah, I like that.
But
I
do
didn't know
a
it
T.
could be a T.
It could be a T for, because you need a fire truck.
Yeah, it's much
turnaround.
better.
Yeah, but the T,
Pulling in and back.
Yeah, there are several of those. That,
That's what, I know
Fitzgerald
Burlington
is-
did it for
yeah.
affordable complex, but this would be, just,
But we don't
That's
get
what-
any affordable housing out of that plan.
well, we do it on our land. We do it where the house is, and we do the best we can with what we have on Highland.
But then we don't get more than 1 unit?
and then why are we
You could do the whole
doing?
thing as affordable units, you don't have to do
You could
1,
do
2,
4
you could do
units.
3.
Yeah,
Wait, I'm sorry. So we have, I'm trying to understand. the
Right
plan
there.
here. So we've got a road coming down here, T's out here.
Yep.
So we're gonna be developing back here?
No,
no,
Where would we be developing?
on Highland.
Highland,
Right
I
here?
like that, Heather,
Yeah.
that's the best.
But we've just discussed all the problems with,
No, with a portion of it, not where the house is right now,
but where?
where the house is now,
so put a duplex where 22 Highland is.
and that's it, I mean, that's all you got.
That
And then
seems
we
like-
don't help fund the road.
That seems like.
We
We
don't
would,
do
we would never, we
road,
would
we
never
don't-
help fund the
We
road.
never fund the
Yeah.
road, we don't use the utilities, and we're restricting the
I mean,
size
is
of the
that
houses.
buildable now anyway,
So
Dennis?
22 Highland, from my understanding, has had flooding issues.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
like a river going through it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't-
down the street.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I really.
We don't have
to-
buildable land then, we don't have buildable land as a town.
That's what I was trying to say. We could advertise it as a river house. It would be truthful.
Why don't we just put a houseboat there? So if it floods, it just rises.
That's
We
the
don't have
answer.
buildable land, the town does not have buildable land, so now I'm gonna ask you again, who's benefiting from this?
Right, I agree with you, totally. Yeah.
Well, Dennis made it very clear that he would, in the deal that he's somewhat proposed, that some people are really not happy with, is that he's getting twice as much land as we're getting.
He's getting twice as much buildable land,
Right.
because he's using the road
Well,
on our land.
Yeah, that's why the back site made sense from a building point of view. I didn't think from a
Oh, for the
social point.
affordable.
Yes. You keep it.
John, do you want to weigh in on that, on the affordable? Since you're here, John, you here,
And
Well-
also,
just for a minute?
I'm so concerned.
I would make 2 points on the affordable.
Do you want to come up to?
What's our, are we going to discuss this other stuff at all? or-
One
I
thing we
I
have
know
to
we
do.
don't, we're also
This will
over
take-
Dennis's time,
this will
but since
take
we're
2
talking
seconds.
about this and John is here, it'd be great to. John, do you and Dennis know each other?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I mean, I think if you're building 4 or 6 market rate houses, you can, I mean, I think building two or 4, if you could get 4 affordable units, and say 6 market rate units, that's 40% affordable percentage. And so I think, in terms of Dion, your comment earlier, I don't think it's necessary to match providing 6 affordable units with the 6 that are in the current 40B proposal.
Right.
And even if you had 2 affordable units and 6 market rate units, that's total,
It's 25%.
still 25%. So that matches the 40B proposal. The second comment I would make is, I mean, the original impetus to all of this was keeping the affordable units on Highland Avenue, not building on the existing 22 Highland site because of
Oh, the
flooding
flooding issues.
conditions.
Right.
And then building the affordable units on the front portion of Craig, the land that Craig Miller is proposing to buy. So
I
that
guess-
would be my
Well, I guess one
preference.
question-
And I would, again, my personal preference from a resident perspective would be to keep as much of the open land open, which is, I think, what Dennis was saying
I'd agree with
before.
that.
I mean, I've walked this land many,
Yeah.
many times.
Well, I guess my question for you is, and just to be quick, is do you have an opinion about the option, theoretical option, not stating any preference, but just theoretical option of having affordable deeper into the site, like around where the T or the cul-de-sac would be?
So
I would
like
prefer
that
to
that's
have,
not
I would prefer to
desirable?
have the affordable units on Highland.
Right,
Right.
for access to transportation and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Exactly.
That's all I wanted to
Yeah,
just,
no, and I think Dennis makes some good points. I mean,
Okay.
they're
So
I mean, I
we'd be
think we
better
more
kind of figured that
integrated
too, but we
into
just
the-
wanted to double
School
check.
and everything else.
Okay, all
Isn't
right, that's
that,
helpful.
though, consistent with Heather was just,
Well, we gotta give him something of ours to get that lot off of.
yeah, maybe we could just, I mean, the idea of his deal or whatever we want to call it, I mean, maybe we just make that a little more fair for us, meaning that we
not
get what we need in this front portion, and we don't give him 6. I mean, 6 lots is
Yeah.
we still don't understand how 6 lots are
Yeah,
going to work
yeah.
and how why.
yeah, thank you,
Go back
Deanne.
to the original, go 4 and give me.
I honestly, what I thought was going to happen from the very beginning was that it was going to end up in 5 because somehow we were going to ask him for something to do with like culvert work, or maybe that was going to work. This was like pie in the sky is what would work out. Is he wanted 4, we make him do some work, and then he needs the 5th to make that work get done. But that's not what's happening. That's not the direction anyone's going at all. So.
So, what makes me very nervous about that is the corner house, which the first thing that Dennis Sunny sat down is the pinch point on the first house on Dana Avenue
Yeah.
and what that does. So the select board needs to understand that if that is what
Sorry.
we are going for, is how much that pinches on that one house. It will pull away from the one that's on DRC Road.
But if we're doing something with them and we curve this road in,
Yeah, that's the whole point, is we can move everything down. So
Yeah.
22 Island goes, we give this some breath
but
here.
if we keep him to 4, could there be 1 near the T and then 3 down, and would we potentially
I'll
have
go
more
back to the other
space?
drawing.
Yeah, would we potentially have more space closer to Highland? So,
So if we had 2 duplexes here, you're saying?
yeah, and then the road turns, and so, yeah, could we even have another one on Highland?
Yeah,
Oh, on Highland.
On
Yeah.
Highland,
Yeah.
I mean, up here in the front.
Well,
Where, again, it would, if it's gonna be where
not
22
enough
is.
room. I mean, could we
That's- you're
get
gonna
the
run
road
into that
over
same
to
problem.
south a little bit more and get 2 here, or no? Or even 3, maybe 3 units, Maybe like a double
I
and a
think
single?
we can probably
duplex
get
and a
four,
single.
4 units.
Like as it's drawn, or can we turn it?
Well, no, it
No,
would
with the
be
road
probably,
going
I would try to
north-south.
turn it.
Thank you.
To Highland.
That's what I was.
Yeah, I mean, that was always, I think, our combined goal.
And you're hearing T.
But even,
I really like
if
T
it's a
instead of
single on,
cul-de-sac.
Dennis,
Okay, if
Dennis,
it's
it could be a
allowable.
single on Highland, and then this double in the corner.
Yeah, I guess you're asking whether, just to be crystal clear from my own understanding, is if we could move this road down a little?
Yeah,
South,
that's what
yeah.
I would intend to do.
And how far do you think it's possible? Brian, you're the guy who knows.
Not a
this.
heck of a lot,
I
but a
mean-
little
But in
bit.
any event, you could
You
do a
can't build
single.
past this buffer.
Sure, but can
You could
move
do
it?
you could do a single and then a
So-
double at the
This is
corner.
80 feet.
This is sort of
Three,
following
and then,
the
and then if we
contours up
keep him
here.
at 4,
But you're
1, 2,
really
3, 4,
limited
5, then that's maybe 5
in this
units.
area.
Given,
Then it's maybe 5
Depends on
units for
how
us.
the orientation you want of the road,
With
basically.
John's feedback,
I'm
thank
moving
you,
that up to you.
John, for that, to
So-
say that you don't want
Just
the
a
affordable
question
housing.
If we can get another house
Inland,
here.
up, yeah.
I don't know.
Up
Yeah, I
country.
That
think
would
you
be,
can.
so
I just
one
think you might
option
be
is the 4 units on Highland, and then the 4
awkwardly
lots,
pulling out.
and, right, Dennis?
So the
the
4
four
would mean
units on Highland-
modifying his 3 on that one?
Take this out, like, 4 on Highland, that is the town's.
Yeah, I get that.
And being very mindful of the house on Dana, on the corner of
Yeah.
Dana and Highland.
Yeah, if we can.
Then, and the road, and the road is going on our property and on their property,
Mhm.
and not building on the town's property north. Except for the road, if they need the T, it needs to go onto the town road up there.
Or T and one unit, so that he'd have a total of 4.
So yeah, it would be, yeah.
Four-
it-
one would have to
Right,
be
it would
up
be
there.
1, 2, 3, and then the 4th would be over here.
Or somewhere where the, yeah,
I
wherever
think
the
it's
T is,
it's
but that would
fair
be
to say that
closer.
you wouldn't be able to build, the
No.
4, yeah.
Because he's turning it, he's talking about turning the affordable units so they are actually on Highland and facing Highland.
Well,
So
I'm
then
going
there-
to try.
You're saying that then all
It would
4
be
would be
small.
all 4
he's
would be
trying
along the
to,
north
yeah.
side of the road.
I know,
And
but-
staying away from.
But isn't one idea to have these two like this, have the road go this way, and maybe a single or a
layout.
double there?
So that's
And
the
then
one
if the T
option.
is there, and then have one other unit there, so then he has 4 there.
Yeah,
So
I mean-
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so there could be 5. Like the one on, that,
It's got something right there.
I think Dennis needs to lay it out, so maximize
anyway,
the-
is this helpful at all? Because what you told us was really helpful, but we know
Well, I
you gotta
had
go.
3
I mean,
options here,
This is his
which
line.
Brian and I discussed, and
We don't know which
uh,
Brian anymore.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Brian Engineering.
So we're going back to the 4 private houses.
Hold on, let's see what Dennis says.
Oh, well, I'm going.
Now,
to
he
the
has
vote
said he won't accept 4 houses.
Right.
He has very much said that.
So that's 40B on his, can he really develop his site through
Well, that's our
40B
point.
without access?
Yeah,
That's our point.
what we
What do you
wondered
mean
too.
without access?
Well, you can't go through to
Right.
north,
No, so he
Border
just
road.
has a cul-de-sac road. The fire department already came back with that,
But-
saying
but-
that he had no problems.
on his property only?
Oh, that's, yeah, yes, he does have a road that's that he does have a road, I can bring it up, but
No, you don't. if
no,
he's-
he does have a proposed road that's all on his property, yes.
And it meets.
There's a fire gate that DCR has said they will not abide by that, and they will put up their own gate, so even if they had a working fire gate, they wouldn't be able to get through DCR's fire gate, so.
So it's not, it won't be
So
accepted.
that's a conversation for, that's a whole other problem that he's gonna have to run into post any
Yeah, I
comprehensive
saw
permits.
Okay, but he doesn't have he doesn't have
It's not a
a
cul-de-sac.
turnaround or anything.
It's a, one of
Okay.
these fob, release gates that only the fire department, police department have in case of
And you're
emergencies.
saying the DCR is currently saying they'd put another gate in front of that?
So, I don't wanna get,
Okay, guys,
but
hang
yes,
on.
that is what they
We're
said
not
last
Getting
year.
a little too deep into
No,
the
but I'm
details.
also looking at our
Okay, well, in any
agenda.
event, so
It's important to know that.
Dennis,
What's, I'm not sure, what is the objection of building the market rate houses on 8,000, 8,500 smaller lot sizes that are smaller than 10,000 square feet?
We went over that.
The,
Yeah, but I wasn't,
the only
It wasn't clear to
problem
me what the-
is that
It's the
the
timing.
well, it's worse than that.
It's my mind.
The distance between buildings will be decreased,
Right, right.
and the impact of contours will be even greater, which means trees will be coming down.
but you're,
Yeah, my take was that would that would still, we would still need to have an overlay district on there. We wouldn't be able to just change the zoning. That wouldn't
No.
really work.
But we-
And the timing, I don't think would work for spring town meeting. That's it. So it'd have to be a special town meeting, so that's a conversation, but I think if I were him and, I would imagine he's watching anyway.
He is.
No doubt.
He is
No
watching,
doubt.
I'm sure.
No
Hello,
doubt.
Craig. But, I mean, the longer we keep going with this, there's very little incentive for him to not just apply for his permit. So we have to come up with real things that make sense. That's why we have Dennis here. But once we start talking about timeframes that are in the 3 to 5 month range, I'm scared. Because I just think that there's no reason for him to play.
Can I interject something here? If we're gonna do a land swap, we have to do it in town meeting anyway.
Correct.
That's true.
So that's not gonna happen in springtime meeting.
I think that there's enough,
Commitment.
if there's enough commitment, I think that's possible. I think drafting a
But we don't
overlay
know.
district in that time is different. 'Cause
I
Town
have
meetings
it in
wanna
my
know what
machine.
we're gonna
Maybe
do
the numbers
without
will be
buying the
helpful
land
or
and how we're
something.
gonna get stuff out of it. And I don't think town meeting will accept an unfinished view of what we're going to do with the land.
The idea is it would be finished by then, but in theory.
I think there's, I don't know, but I would imagine it's easier, I think, when there's a land deal happening in terms of, whatever, you have two parties that want to make it happen, it's, rather than a zoning amendment at town, it's just different. I don't know.
I just think it comes down to numbers and whether he's saying 6 or 4, isn't it just about numbers? If you have 4 that are nice houses and more space, is he gonna make the same amount of money even that he would make on a 40B? I mean, if you really get, put it on the back of an envelope, I mean, so where we are with Dennis, and thank you for going overboard. but
Okay, so.
We usually try to wrap up at 10 anyway.
I have 3 options at the end. I have to know what I'm drawing because it has to be done
Right, I know.
in
Well, one-
less than 3
One of the
weeks.
ideas is to see how much farther over you can get with the road
Yeah, I will
and see what you can put in here.
talk to Brian with a Y
Make it a
on
T.
that issue.
Yeah, I mean, but the main three options that we're looking at
Land
are,
swap, no land
yeah, land swap, no land swap, and a cottage style. So
Right.
I think that's,
And
which
then-
you could take it either way. You could take it either smaller houses, smaller lots, or I don't.
And then how
I don't
about
know.
with the T or the cul-de-sac, whichever it takes up
No
less
cul-de-sac, do the
space?
T.
So what does that mean on the 3 sites, 4, 5, and 6?
Make it a T.
Build or no build?
No build.
Well, I
Because
guess
the whole process is for the town, the whole reason the town is talking is because they want the affordable housing.
Right.
If John is saying get the affordable housing on Highland, get the affordable housing on Highland, and that is what we need to do, that's where the affordable housing needs to be.
Yeah,
That's
But you
where it
can't
needs to go.
get the land on Highland without,
And that's a
We can't, that's what I'm
conversation
saying,
need
we
to have with
can't
the
get
select
this land here without at least maybe doing something. There has to be a negotiation again, or else he's just in front of the ZBA at the comprehensive permit. So even though we might not want to give any,
We have a negotiation in that we're moving the road on our land.
Yeah,
We're already moving the road down.
yeah,
Right.
We are giving him space to put a T in the back, so we
Yeah.
can put another house back there. And I don't know why we're forgetting that this little chunk of land back here is his. This is his right here.
yeah,
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's more, I don't know how big that is, but
It's
there's
not-
no reason.
it's not very wide.
But you can still put a house there.
No, I don't think so.
It's not that big. It's
Not
only
that big?
64
No.
feet wide.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Well, if we put, I don't know, but the point is, there is land here that can be used for something. I don't know, maybe you put maybe you
The
do
T.
a funky T there, I don't know.
yeah, it doesn't have to
Do it
be
eight. It doesn't have to be
geometric T,
totally
it could be a
A
soft
cursive
T.
T rather than.
What if, I mean, is another option that we ask him for money? In other words, aren't we essentially, wouldn't we, this will be the last thing I say, but that, say for lot 4, maybe 4 or 5 or 6, one of those, that, okay, fine, we'll give you that, but that's because we don't get anything for it, you have to pay us for it. Because, I mean, assuming that is buildable land and it's desirable, and there's conservation and other issues why we wouldn't want to, then we sort of say to them, okay, well, if you want more than 4 houses, then you have to pay market rate for that land to the town, because otherwise we could build something on it once the road goes in. Why
Okay.
should we just give it to them?
I agree.
Why should you sell it to him? I'll buy it.
We should, yeah, true, why should we sell it to him?
Right.
That's true. But I just meant, as opposed to us getting nothing for it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so what am I doing?
It's 10 o'clock, guys.
Yeah, we get, okay, so
I
What's
have
the
a
cottage
list
one?
at the end of the memo I handed out.
maybe there, yeah, one is, here's, Brian, do you want to
So
recap?
let's modify the list
Sure.
or add another.
Right, so development options, one, there's a land swap, so combined effort with the road access utilities. This was his option, obviously, 6 private homes, and then looks like we're sending around these 4 units.
Yeah, but
somewhere.
that assumed
That assumed
all
that
the
this
land was in,
was, yeah.
so I can modify this. If we're gonna use that Highland piece, he has 3 house sites.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Correct.
We get this, he is 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, so that's a big issue.
Right.
I mean, I can draw that, that's easy, but I don't want you, I want you all to feel it's a real,
Is
option.
is another option that he gets 4 there, and that because we turn the road, we can have a total of 4 affordable units, 1 at the corner and 1 on Island? I'm not necessarily advocating
Yeah,
that,
you're
but I
saying
mean,
one
then
in the
it
front,
wouldn't.
and one in the back?
No, so, I mean, I'm not advocating this, but however, if the road's going this way, in theory, then he could have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we could have this and this be affordable, so
okay,
both sides would have
you see
4.
what he's drawn there? He's drawn 4 units below the road on Highland
Yeah,
and the parking for it. See how big it is?
yep,
And the parking's behind too.
Is that,
It's a lot of area
Yeah.
to make this work.
is that the appropriate amount of parking? I can't.
Yes.
It's two at
yeah,
least- two per
2
unit.
per unit.
And they're 1,600 square foot units total, because they're 2 stories, you're saying.
Well,
And John,
it's
on terms-
approximately right.
This is the question for you, John, is how small can we go on the overall square footage?
What is what?
How small can we go on the overall square footage for those units? He's proposing
I
1,800.
have on
I wouldn't-
average 2 to 3 bedroom.
Do we need 2 to 3
So it'd be-
bedrooms?
I
Can we
don't
do 2
think I would go
bedrooms?
below 950, something in that.
No, that's what we were
Total or the footprint?
Total.
Total.
During
So can
total.
the town do 950 total square foot, 4 units? And that
would that
be-
fit?
And which is a
But
1 bedroom?
each unit is 950
Which is a
square
1
feet.
bedroom unit,
No, it's
No.
two.
I think that have to be 2 bedroom.
2 bedroom,
units.
okay.
So I just did.
900 square.
Well, our
I know it can be
It'd
done
be
in 2
great if one of
bedrooms.
the
My
units
house
was
is a
3
900
bedrooms,
square
but
foot
they
house,
should at least have
originally
2
2
bedrooms.
Mine are half or
If
3
we do,
bedrooms.
if we split this, if we can do 4 units up here, if we make these 7,500 square feet, and then we can put another 2 units down here if we need to go to 6, and that saves this area right here.
Is that the area that you find most?
I think that's the most sensitive one right there, but, if we need to, it's another way of fitting 6 houses in. If we can get rid of this one and just pull it back, the further back from there,
Like with the T?
yeah, like with the T. So that would give us an option of 5 or 6 units on 7,500 square foot lots for the private homes, for the developer. And that would give us land out here, plus possibly another one over here. So that's an option which gets us flexibility in the number of the homes for the developer and still gets us affordable units.
That's true.
But again, we would have to rezone.
Right, so that would be, if we call that cottage style, I mean, it's really altering, it's not so much altering the size of the homes, it's altering the size of the lots. So maybe that could still, I don't know, do we really need 2 options, one with smaller houses and one with smaller lots, or just the ones with smaller lots? I would imagine, because that's the
Well,
only
can
way.
you
Smaller lots you can deal with.
Can you superimpose with
Yeah.
like dashes or something and have on the same frame? It just seems like where there's so much open space that maybe you can justify smaller lots.
But with the smaller lots would also deal with the setbacks. So he can address the size of that, and so if we say smaller lots, he can deal with the setbacks to reduce the impact on the natural environment.
I just need directions. I know we can do all these things. I don't want to draw something that you're not happy with, because there won't be money to change it.
So the first one is land swap.
Yes, but how many units?
So we need to get as many
Okay,
as
I'll
we
email
can
you.
on Highland up front.
So we
No, I
want
agree with that.
to, we want to turn the
Private.
road as much as you can turn it.
Private, how many?
What you can with the zoning.
With conforming zoning.
Conforming to
Conforming?
zoning. Mhm.
Okay.
That's one that should be one option.
That's the conforming
That's one
zoning.
It's a conforming option.
And how am I dealing with the bottom three, as Diab said?
Yeah, because the road needs to be on our
Conform it
land.
to zoning, conform it to conservation, conform it to.
And turn the road as much as you can.
You know, I get that.
But how many of your houses do we put down that's south of the road?
But you tell us, I mean, we don't know.
No, no, I heard suggestions, no houses, 2 houses.
Duplex. You
No,
get
no,
more.
these are the single families.
I'd say compromise, put 2 houses down there. If you're gonna do full zoning, then at least we saved 1 lot,
Okay.
unless somebody else wants, I mean, I'm not happy.
No,
That's a
I
total
think we
of-
go to the select board and.
So
we
that's
tell
5
them
houses.
how to
5
recommend
houses.
it,
Yeah.
Approximately.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 1 shot. So
Okay,
there's
that
2 more.
helps.
But the second one is known land swap.
And saying, what can we do, what's the best we could do with our land?
But we
And-
can't do anything, we've already determined that.
Yeah, well, I guess,
I don't think
Unless
there's
we
enough-
build a comparable of 2 lots on
Then we're swapping
on
the
4
road.
and 5.
right, well, then all we're doing is we're not getting any of
Okay.
this.
Could you push it more? No, I got it. I'm
I have
joking.
a telescoping arm.
You're beyond the table.
I mean, if we do no land swap, then as Heather
Is it
pointed
done?
out, there's no point in doing anything, because we get nothing. We can't put a road on our land.
And
So,
the other, so
no,
then that second option.
Get access
By no
to
land,
his
by
road.
no land swap, I think what we originally meant was you take all the lines out and it's either, we either doing a combined project or nothing. I mean, obviously, no combined project is, okay, so then what's he doing here? But when I'm trying to say if we erase all the lines, wasn't that an option?
If we erased all the lines.
That would be
Yeah,
the
the
cottage
zoning.
house approach,
Yeah.
I
Right.
think is what we're talking about. So
Exactly.
that's the second option, would be the cottage, changing the lot dimensions,
Exactly.
changing the
do
housing
that.
sizes,
Yeah.
the setbacks, and
I'm
doing that.
sorry, but if we combine the properties,
Mhm.
running into the roadblock where the select board wants to have the developer develop his side of the land and we develop ours. But if we combine the land, I don't see how that gets done.
It wasn't a majority opinion, I don't know.
The cottage style, you mean?
No,
No.
the co-development.
That was, yeah, I mean, it was 2 members of the select
They
board.
felt pretty strongly
mean-
about that.
They did, but,
I'm just
majority
saying.
is a majority.
I agree.
I know. You just have to be able to count to 3.
Okay, so the second one would be,
Just saying.
assume that the entire both property, there's no property line, do what you can.
That's the most sensitive to obviously all the things that we've been talking
Right.
about
So
tonight.
how many
Yeah.
units, we still want?
We're
4?
still, we're still obviously looking for somewhere around 4. It seems like Housing Partnership would be happy with 4. It seems like we might be able to actually fit 4 along Highland. 6 would not be possible. I mean, it's converging on these four units for us.
4 to 5 affordable units and
On Highland.
then 4 to 5
Yeah,
cottage-sized units.
yeah.
And then, so now we have a third option, which I would like to see, which is to take this road movement and zone it to 7,500 square feet and see what we can do with that.
You mean of the ones he's developing?
Yeah.
The market rate units.
The board can tell me to go away with that one,
And what about the town land? How do you want to approach that?
but I would, the town land, the idea would be that we would still get the 2 lots near Highland. So we would develop that. 7,500 square feet for everything and get
5. We
5
you
units.
said 5.
5 units.
It would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Or actually, you could get 4 up on top.
You can fit. Oh, that's right. You could
Four
fit.
across.
You could
You
fit
could fit
for
four on
7,500
top.
square feet. You said you could fit 4.
Which gets
You-
him the 6 that he wants.
Which would save the 6, or I think we can compromise at 5.
Yes.
I mean, just because he says
Right.
adamantly he wants 6.
Right.
doesn't
No,
mean-
like I said, I
Yeah.
thought from the very
Exactly.
beginning it was going to end up at 5 because it was 4 for 3 years, and I thought that we'd be able to work that's what we would have to be able to work out. That it'd be 4 or 5.
But before Dennis writes all that down, does the rest of the board think that's a reasonable use of our third wish? we have a genie with 3 wishes here. I wish
Wave
for
a
more
magic
wishes.
wand. Yes.
I agree. The fourth wish that the select board asked, which is independent of this process, was to look at the 40B proposal to actually see if it's buildable.
I forgot about that. I
dear.
don't know if that's in the,
It would be additional.
that would be, because,
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe
But they
Brian
wanted
could
that
work on that.
requirement.
Maybe you could work on that.
I can take a look. It's
Yeah.
not exactly my.
Let's see if you could.
We could
yeah.
put some heads together, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they wanted
we still don't equal Dennis, so.
No.
independent.
So we're not doing B, no land swap,
Yeah.
I guess it seems pointless.
okay?
But on the other hand, if things come back and we just, well, you know,
Can we,
could be a zero-sum game.
Wait, I'm confused now, because I thought we just said that B was a land swap, was the no land swap.
No, B was erase all the line. It would, well,
No.
meaning that we're not doing any, we're not, no land swap shouldn't be, it's really, it's that we're not doing anything on his property. He's not doing anything on our property.
Isn't
Just
that
what
a
can
no
we,
land swap?
right, but we're not, that's not one of the options now.
Right.
Can you repeat the 3 options that you're doing, that you took notes on?
A, land swap, that's combined effort, use the same road, propose 5 homes, private homes, 4 plus affordable homes. I assume that means altering the road. Yes, it means altering the road. Second one was, well, that was the third, but the second, cottage house approach, combined effort again. I reduced the homes to 1,400 square feet per unit. And I guess we're gonna try and max his number,
Of,
small homes,
yeah, you mean 1,400 foot,
talking-
1,400 footprint?
yeah.
Yeah, that's 3,200 square feet.
No, not footprint, that's
Oh, for a
1,400.
cottage style home?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
I
14,
assumed it was
14,
14.
15. Yeah, something
Yeah.
like
So
that.
we would do how many, 5, 6?
However many can.
No, for us?
No, for the developer, the
So-
private owners.
Market rate.
We could do 6, but I don't know if he, we're assuming he's gonna wanna build 1,400 square foot homes.
Right.
He has not, he mentioned that.
He
was not
mentioned
opposed
cottage
to-
style. I don't know what his version of cottage style is.
Well,
It's
that's
on
true.
square footage,
Yeah.
and he was in the, I thought he said 1,400 or.
I wouldn't be
Yeah.
And wouldn't that be 7,500 square foot lots?
In town, they go down to 6,500.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
the smallest.
Okay,
I mean,
I'll try that.
Yeah, the first one, I think, perhaps I missed you saying it, but we wanted to do it within the current zoning. A was within current
Was
zoning.
conforming zone, yeah.
Conforming zoning.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably said that.
Now, what is the select board's 40B option?
What's
That's
his?
outside what Brian, Dennis is doing?
They don't, no,
No,
they're,
they just want to
they
know
don't
whether
have
or
a,
not
they don't have
the
a
applicants-
preferred option other than from last night, they didn't want to, they didn't even want this front parcel and they said, we don't, yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially, in my mind, the people that were against it, it was like, well, where does that leave us? That leaves us as just him applying. So I didn't.
And
Yeah.
whether or not it's feasible anyway
Yeah,
for
yeah.
him,
I
to
don't know.
sort of like, but we actually need to
Yeah,
wrap up
it's,
because it's
yeah,
after
it's
10,
really-
so.
There's one thing.
Dennis, did you,
Dennis, read back the
yeah,
last one.
can you read
Yes.
back the last one and then,
Well, the last one is
One thing, yes.
yeah,
we just-
okay.
the cottage one?
Well, the last one was to rezone to 7,500 square.
Right, that was yours.
Yeah.
So I can't read it back, other than 4 to 5 units affordable, and I'll see how many units I can get on.
In your opinion, is there a real difference between B and C?
No. No. But I'll look at it.
I really do want to get those affordable units down to 900 square feet.
But and then all,
Every dollar, the town is paying for it, every dollar square footage you have is more money the town has to come up with to pay for them. There is a high need for them.
Yeah.
In 900
Absolutely.
square foot, there's a high need for those houses to be that small.
Yeah,
I
good.
just don't see why we have to push the square footage, because it's gonna cost the town more, and there is a need for at least.
Well, 900 is two-bedroom, 1,000 is three-bedroom. That's why it's 950 average.
Got it.
And the 2 and 3 work together, they
So it's for a
interlock.
duplex,
So
you're
you're talking
saying?
about duplexes at that?
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were talking about single unit, individual units. It's
Yeah,
totally-
well,
Duplexes
they're
are-
townhouses, but there's an overlap.
I know, but it
425,
was not clear in the
425.
conversation.
I agree with you. I didn't follow that. Yeah, no, Heather's good. She's on a roll
I
tonight.
don't wanna go to 3, I wanna stay to 2.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah,
there's a lot of the.
yeah, we hardly have any of
Is,
those.
actually, and you may know better, but a lot of the need
Two-bedroom.
actually is, a lot of retirees and stuff that are
Yeah.
looking too, correct?
Yeah, there certainly is a desire on the part of the state to have some three-bedroom units.
Yes.
So including,
I would think that Holton or.
You know, 1 out of 4 having-
I think for large 40Bs, it's 15% need to be
10%.
three-bedroom.
For large ones,
Yeah.
but like that would be where Holton.
well,
would
any
fit
40B.
there.
But
Okay.
even, so in all the options, the
Leave that in
the
your
road turns.
possession.
Yeah, oh, no, I'm going to talk to Brian about how close we can get.
Does anybody
We need
have,
a quick
I will
vote,
talk
Maureen.
to you
yeah,
about
but
legally,
she
there's
can
a
leave
close
if
we
she,
can
because we
Yeah,
have
but
quorum.
do you think you
Okay.
Precinct
So
3.
Dennis,
out
we're gonna
here?
jump to something else real quick, but feel free to
Yeah.
stay here. So it's
Distance-wise.
Can you guys?
steering committee.
This is gonna be super quick, it's gonna be a
No, you
vote,
guys
it's gonna
can stay
take
here.
20
We're just
seconds.
doing something
But
It's
else.
easier.
Highland, yeah, we're done with Highland, so.
Thank you, John.
but,
Okay, so
yeah.
real quick, so it's to vote
So-
on somebody to be in the master plan steering committee.
Deeb and Heather, this is super quick.
Okay,
Precinct 3 Master Plan Steering Committee a member, unfortunately is not able to be part of the Master Plan Steering Committee.
You can name the person.
Yeah, Samantha
Anyway,
Allison.
keep moving.
Okay.
I looked back through our records to see who else applied. Jay Melkonian did, is still interested, is, and with his finance committee background, that's part of the reason.
That's why
We had Samantha, I think it's a
I know-
no-brainer, he's interested, and I recommend that we.
I know Jade very well,
I think
highly
we-
recommend
Make a
it,
motion.
yes.
Betsy.
So moved, I move.
Okay, is there a second?
I
Second.
can't actually
Okay,
hear him.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it's to
I
appoint
just-
Jay
yep.
Melkonian.
And is there a motion to adjourn?
Melkonian.
Motion to adjourn, make it on your way out.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye, okay, thank you so much, Dennis.
Aye.
Thank you. So I noticed the buffer in this drawing.
Thank you,
right
thank
on
you,
the edge of the
WinCam.
house.
So this is what we just did.
So if we raise the land.
Oh, yeah, so,
So you're correct then, where you put it. You probably put it as close as we can make it.
so it was my understanding that the riverfront buffer, which is this, ends here,
Oh, I see, so that affects,
So-
it, and that's why you drew it
and then
like
there's
that.
the, yeah, so, I also, none of, as far as I know, this is not actually been wetland flagged, so, back here, this could change a lot.
Yeah, I get that.
But up here, we're, I think it's a straight line from the culvert and then
So go
25
by
feet.
this then?
Yeah.
Well, the culvert, does it end?
If he gets to a point where if anything that we put in front of him, he's just like, no, all he's gonna do is go down to the building department. And start the permitting process. So right now, he's done step 1, which is he's received site eligibility. Step 2, he's gone through the zoning board. So he hasn't initiated the process. So he's essentially waiting to see how much of a good deal he can get with the town. And he probably won't be, it's not gonna be sweet enough for him because of what he's asked for. There's nothing we're gonna be able to do. I don't think there's nothing we're gonna be able to do to sweeten it. So what I imagine is gonna happen is he's gonna be kinda sad. He's gonna just go to the ZBA.
It's that, it's that trying to put
proposal that's before right now is only on his land, because it's on and it's for 4 large structures that have 6 units each, for a total of 24. That's 24 units. That's his proposal.
Right.
They'll say, well, they didn't actually.
That's the one that probably, yeah.
No, the hard part though is he's not gonna be.
All right, Liz, I'm ready for you.
Just a couple of things. First of all, do you know when the next master plan steering?
Has not been.
Okay. And it's probably sometime towards the end of the month?
Probably middle, oh, that's, no, it hasn't been done this month, that's right, we just started.
I think it,
I guess it would have to be
I thought it was gonna be like the
26th.
20th or the 26th.
Yeah, exactly, it has to be the 20th or the 26th, I don't know exactly.
Okay.
We haven't done that yet, but yes,
Okay,
it is
so you
one of
let
those.
me know?
Yeah, nobody knows, so I'll let everybody know when that happens.
Okay, and who was the precinct member that left?
3, Samantha Allison, and now it's Jay Malconian.
Okay, and, do you mind sending me those votes?
Oh, sure, don't even worry about it, I got them all, I did, no, that's easy.
There's those two, the Ginn Road and the Main Street, I think is all I need,
Wendell.
if you don't mind.
Wendell, and I'll just send them all. I mean, I already typed them
All
up,
right,
so.
great, thank you. And I think I'm spelling Brian's name
It's
wrong.
BRY. He's BRY.
He is.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this though, B-R-Y, what about the last name? I think I'm spelling.
CAR.
Yeah, I am.
CAR. Yeah. RIGNAN.
Oh,
1 R.
see, all right, so start again, go ahead.
CAR.
Yep.
IGNAN. That's it.
So it's Carignan.
But it's pronounced Kerrigan.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's super Irish.
I guess. Okay, thank you.
So I will email you what I think the options are, and then you can say
You're
yay
gonna go
or nay.
insane, and then we'll have another call.
I'm sorry we lost the 3 lots.
Don't be sorry. I mean, honestly,
No, I think we need it.
I don't see how it is.
Yeah.
If you really want to, is that by no fault of your own or anyone else's, really, it's the collective
Yeah.
that whatever is going to be pushed in front of you is not going to be strong enough for him. It doesn't even matter what you do because of the same, not because of your
But what is, sure, my question is, if we, well, my thought was that
We have
Well, we just gotta make it look good.
okay, we'll try.
Well, I sketched on yours.
Did you move your office then? Existing or. So you're not in the. Change some stuff.
No, the rental.
Not just dealing with individual.
That's what happened to us.
You know, what are you doing with your property?
And,
The town as a whole.
now
We
that
have a few
it's
town as a
private,
whole, we only have 6
what is
miles.
made no
We packed so much in here. Our population's already growing.
I mean, you got pretty much the gist of everything. I'm so frustrated with it.
we all are.
It's almost like if we just took his original layout, the 4 houses we wanted, and we give him, make it turn into a T,
New development on
right?
on
And we call it a day and walk away, and instead the town gets their money, and they're gonna, instead of putting it in the culvert, they use it and go buy a parcel and we build.
but I would,
We demolish and then we build.
I just think for the $1 million we have in the housing fund, if we use it to, I know that there are other good reasons to it, but my idea is that you put it into the fund and then you get it back out. Because you do an RFP, you get a developer to come in to build what we want, they make the profit, but they're actually gonna pay us back the money.
Dennis, are you coming up with your scope of work, you make cost estimates? No. So you're not doing anything financial? No.
You mean we offer him $1 million to get more of his land out of that?
No, we buy the whole parcel for $1 million.
He bought the parcels under agreement for 1.3.
Okay, so you get one,
That's what I said yesterday. I said, why don't you just go try to buy the land?
yeah, that's what I was thinking, that's why I was saying how much you
Last
have.
night they told
My
me to
next
go,
project, my first official
the
project.
selectmen told me to go out of
They
here.
said we don't have a mechanism to do that, we need a housing, we need a
Property back at one
cooperative development.
Because at your town meeting to appropriate.
But I think that's the wrong attitude. I think this is where
They're so
Rupert,
scared to
if we could do that,
use it to
Let's
build
hold on
affordable
some
housing
traditions,
in there?
like slavery.
We have
People
no
follow
problem.
when they can't vote,
Yeah.
or, you know,
But
and
then, what do
we
you
don't
use
talk
to
about
build
slavery.
affordable housing?
But we could,
There's
we could
another town
build
in Massachusetts
some
that wanna
affordable,
do
some
new
market
change
rate,
like
but we have
I want it
control
to
of
be
the
the
entire
older men
process.
anymore.
And
City council.
you know, he's gonna be making, let's say he goes in and improves, he's gonna be making at least several million
So
dollars
if
in
we
profit.
applied that mentality
Well,
to
you
all
were
The
this.
town
really
doesn't
trying
need
to-
to make several million dollars in profit, they just need to get the money
But
back.
it's
I think
always
that's
been
so-
this way. Is it?
Outside the box, that I wouldn't,
I agree.
if you're looking at trying to pull together a
I want to
proposal,
encourage that. I don't think vote on that at town meeting. It's already been voted
You
on.
can do
It's
it.
the select board. And
I don't think we can do it in a month
Make sure
either,
it
but I
gets
also
fixed
don't
across
see
the
why we
board
couldn't do
and
it.
the web and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, the point is
A lot of the
that
circuit.
he's
This
gonna,
thing changed over and
it's gonna take us until, we have to have a special town meeting anyway to do any sort of land swap or rezone or whatever.
But I thought that the proposal was to
Leave it to
bring
the
all
town,
the
let the
land,
town meeting to debate it.
to
decide
bring
what
all
they
the
wanna
land
do.
swap,
Right.
the land swap proposal to town meeting.
Right, but it wouldn't, I doubt we're gonna get that done by the standard town meeting, because I don't think that town meeting is gonna say, yeah, let's do a land swap, but we don't know what we're gonna get out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
We don't
I-
know.
I-
Why don't you know?
Bill Maureen
I mean, you're gonna know-
interrupted.
The town still has to figure out who's gonna do it.
Well,
I can't deal with
there's
that.
no
one of the things I
plan.
don't
I would not be
understand
able to deal with
You're talking about
is that they
who?
keep talking about an habitat for
Tony
humanity,
Khan.
but I
Yeah.
think any proposal like
it.
that.
I would rather have her
would have to
interrupting every 30 seconds.
She,
Yeah,
it's her
and that-
delivery,
that's what
it's
we
just
do.
her delivery, her heart
And
is,
so the
is
town
the
meeting
right
is gonna
place
say,
in her
oh,
delivery.
you're promising us you're
I
gonna
know
do
she
something.
definitely wants the right stuff, I mean, there's no
You could watch
question.
it. All you have to do is sit in on 2 planning meetings and you're like, yep.
Yes,
She's
I think all the,
But
She doesn't
no, I think
No, but it's just,
she's-
it's just a presentation
I think
thing.
she's amazing at what she's trying to do. She really tries to do a
Yeah.
great job, and she does it at heart, so.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't see
She
how they
does,
can
and
commit
she
to
listens
that.
to residents.
They're
Yes.
just hoping
we all do.
that this is, that
I know,
they're
because
just
it's
gonna
so
call
important.
another block, and that's the end of it. That's what their game plan is, because they're not really facing this realistically. I don't see them putting any skin in the game,
They're not.
and there's
They
not.
think our land is more valuable than Miller's. It's not true. Our land is not. It's not, for buildable purposes, it's not.
I mean, I think, I have trouble with working with the select board. I think the town manager is putting skin in the game.
Right.
Yes, I think he is.
Oh, is he putting skin in the game?
Oh, no.
Just leave it.
There's
How's
probably-
it going?
remember the first
He's
conversation on
actually,
Concom?
he stated.
CPC
I mean, this is
did the
his
same
proposal.
thing. The two items up for
Oh,
for
the
business.
proposal originally?
The
They're
last
come and gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And I'm
just,
still
it wasn't
sitting there, and he's
fully,
like,
He wasn't
so,
based on.
you're on one of those? I was like,
It wasn't
he's like,
listed.
so I think this is not for you, because we don't get warm bodies in here.
Yeah,
We don't have people that just show up, and I was like, well,
this is
that's
all
amazing.
recycling.
I
I
know.
would like to rectify.
You want?
Yeah,
I feel very
exactly.
strongly
I
about
have
civic
so much
engagement
paper
and
and great, but I have so much of it right now, but I will take all the clips.
Oh, okay.
Because
Isn't that
I mean,
sad?
it's
I mean,
technically
we're-
part of, it's technically part of your requirement. You get rights, and you
Yes.
get privileges, and you get responsibilities.
7:30.
No, I just
Well,
discovered
parties in a lot of
the,
places understood.
housing production plan is at 8:30 in the morning, so I'll have,
Is that on the 14th or is it
A
the
couple
15th?
of other organizations that try to
I don't know, it
push
was
civic
sprung on us
engagement.
today.
Yeah, no, I saw the email.
You don't have to run.
I mean, I saw it.
No, my phone has decided it really wants to die. It's gone into very slow mode.
I think, I have the approval.
I don't know, I'm so frustrated with this.
Oh, now I can go and fix it, and then nothing else I can actually read my mail.
I mean, the proposal that I like best is,
Right.
depending whatever label, is either a cottage style development or smaller lot sizes. Get away from the 10,000 square foot lots.
Oh, that's what, yeah,
Yeah,
that's the same thing. Smaller size lots, smaller size houses. He told us he was fine with it.
yes.
I mean, I would, that's,
Mm.
So my
I mean,
daughter's,
he's not gonna
my daughter's now.
get the profit.
So it's like,
I mean, he could, I mean, you might be able to talk
I don't know,
about
later
six.
name though was going for a lot.
Oh, yeah, there was one of those units that just sold.
Yeah.
Was a,
If it was brand new, it would have sold for over $1 million.
thought it
And
was,
they're two
I
to
thought it
two,
was
so it's, I
over.
almost wanted Dennis to go look at Lantern Lane. Just like.
Has he seen it? He must have.
I don't think he's gone and reviewed Lantern Lane.
He
That
hasn't,
was
he hasn't
the-
gotten out of the town center.
Well, he went up to this plant, to this lot, so apparently at least got to
Yeah,
there.
none.
Lantern Lane is a good example.
Oh, it's the Tuesday, it's next Tuesday. But you have all these notes. You know what your notes? Right.
How many notes for what?
I don't know, your notes.
So you have boxes and boxes of all notes. What are all that? What are they proposing for 319 Main Street?
Oh, they just want to cover a side.
That was my example.
It's just a tiny.
And they're all like.
Oh, okay. So
It's on the side of the house.
Okay, when I